Hello and welcome back to the Divine Deception. We've gone through a decent amount of stories now, and we're finally starting to need to break our locks. But first, yeah, this was, Val's story. Belle's story. Spooked. Dang, they got a pull they weren't hoping for. And so then they lay siege to the castle, which, like, fair, they want to take over shit. They actually got to, if they want to take over or shit, they've got to actually take over shit. I respect that. But the main dude of the house orders the raiders to lay waste to all the citizens and send a message, which no indication of that lead up. Meanwhile, the battle's going on. While the battle's going on, the house's lady ends up banging the older blacksmith guy. And I mean, first off, time and place, girl. Dang, is she really into invasions, pillaging? Anyways, the main dude ends up getting hit in the neck with an arrow by the dipshit order kid from before. Revenge for his shitty father, I guess, but also the kid sucks too. I mean, he's a pompous jackass, you're like, incredibly entitled. Then the middle of battle just cuts away. Over the other side of the map, the Iron Queen strikes up an alliance with the Wolves to lay waste to the other factions. But I don't like the Iron Queen, I definitely don't think the Wolves would be good to lead. I mean, it's played as a triumphant moment, but reality, it's like the team up between two allying villains, and then it just kind of ends. Like, that's a note they go out on. Sequel hook, huh? I mean, obviously, but still. Usually create some sort of conclusion, just a bit of it so people get the sense they're read a finished chapter of the grander story or whatever. True, as it stands, they just sort of stopped in the middle of proceedings. Yeah, I guess for a mainstream example where I also feel this is a pretty common thing to occur, the, like, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, the one after A New Hope, the first one, so part of the original trilogy. That one really ends on a blatant... Well, actually, I wouldn't say it ends so much as it just stops, because at the end of the movie, spoilers, I guess, but yeah, uh, Han Solo's been captured, Luke was injured, basically everything was just kind of pretty much everything sets up for the final movie, which is fine all, but that still means that for as good as the second movie was with its revelations and all that, it doesn't have any kind of conclusion, and that really hurts it for me. Then again, I'm not sure it's just me. This is a pretty ice cold take in the general sense. It's a pretty common opinion, so it's not like I'm being brave or anything by saying that. But yeah, I figure that's a common example most to be aware of. As it stands, they sort of stop the middle proceedings. That's not a cliffhanger. That's a bad ending. Exactly. I don't know. Kind of like not interested in seeing where it goes, because at this point it just kind of feels like it's a battle of assholes against other assholes. Everyone remotely good died pretty early on, and you know, maybe that can work. I mean, there's something to be said for watching assholes go to war with each other. Yeah, see something like Scarface or Breaking Bad. As long as none of those guys or protagonists or basically any faction there are people you can really call quote-unquote good, but that can still be engaging. When everyone's despicable one way or another, I just struggle to find someone to latch on to. Without anyone to latch on to, how am I supposed to stay invested? Maybe you should try and root for the relatively least bad. That's sort of a meager aspiration to strive for, isn't it? Sure. It was a familiar type of conversation. An unfamiliar situation. We talked many times about disappointing books, but never had we done so in the dead of night in the middle of the forest. I'm guessing this is supposed to be a loosely based off Game of Thrones or something. I've actually not been as heavy into that as most. Ah well, sometimes it was just like that. Anyways, I might not have liked that all too much, but it did get me thinking. A rarity. Hey, screw off. That one was a softball. Fair enough. Anyways, no, I was thinking, what counts as good or bad? Pretty much all the main characters in the story were unquestionably horrible. I don't think there's much to argue in that part, but that kind of got me thinking. Everyone that setup was horrible. In that case, does that kind of make none of them horrible? I remember when I was young, I saw an episode of The Simpsons where the Mafia guys were all playing cards together, and one's all 6 queens, 7 queens. So yeah, it's extremely blatant that every single one of them is cheating. But I was thinking, wait, but if all of them are blatantly cheating, would that kind of make it fair, in a way? I mean, I guess if you really wanted to stretch it, since they're all cheating, they all have an equal chance to get the jump on the others, but at the same time, I don't think it works that way. I don't follow. I mean, if everybody's acting bad, maybe none of them are all that bad. Like, you sort of have to blame more their environment and the personal failings at that point. Judging them by our morals of right and wrong may be a bad way of thinking about it. You're talking about relative morality. Am I? You are. Then I guess I'm talking about relative morality. So you're just gonna dismiss everything bad that happens because the standards of the setting? That's a pretty dangerous slope, I think. Hey, I'm not dismissing shit. I'm not putting everything on just that. Just, the only other way to explain it is that every person was born then into the setup happened to be born evil, and I don't like thinking about it that way. I like to think humans aren't born evil with that much frequency, so if you throw away that possibility, you could say good people could still do shitty things in that scenario. Why, you don't agree? Well, you do have to factor in the context. I'm not saying to ignore that. Nobody's saying that. But I'm also saying I don't like chalking away right and wrong to a matter of scales towards each other. True, that's not really a bell curve type of thing. I think there are some good things that are just objectively bad and some that are objectively good. I'm not saying I can't have sympathy, but I don't acknowledge that it would be a lot harder to do good given your circumstances. I kind of see where both these are coming from. On one hand, and I can see why Vels would prefer the idea of things of an unyielding principle of sorts. That a situation and stuff doesn't inherently make it less good or bad, it's just how things... It's just good or bad and that's it. But at the same time, a lot of people can be driven to go do terrible things if they're even if they naturally wouldn't. Like, one thing I did bring up in one of the earlier episodes is that a lot of people are brought over to... A lot of reason younger people join gangs is because they're stuck in their life in a way they feel like they can't do anything else. So it's more that their backs are to the wall, and at that point it's fight or flight. If you do bad things, you're a bad person. Everything beyond that is set dressing. Huh. I didn't think you'd go that way on it, Vels. Truly, I'm a question wrapped in enigma. It just seems kinda simplistic for you. Sometimes simplistic just means right. I can appreciate wanting to keep things simple. I mean, the fact I overanalyze everything shows that sometimes there is some value in just getting straight to the heart of the matter. At the same time, though, I'm not sure if I can just ignore nuances like that. Ignore the core of the situation that caused something to happen to begin with. Perhaps I am overthinking things, and wouldn't be the first time, right? At the same time... So you're saying that certain actions are just bad, right? No ifs, ands, or buts, actions are just bad. I'm not sure if that's right. I mean, if you kill someone's self-defense, that's not the same as murder, isn't it? Those aren't the same actions. One is self-defense, one's murder. Okay, fair, but can't there be... Oh, I know. Aren't there different moral codes in different situations, like honor among thieves? Steal from a thief and a thief steals back. It's just kind of a different... than a thief stealing from an innocent person. Those thieves have a sort of understanding, and stealing is just part of the thief game when it's between thieves. You realize that's not what honor among thieves means, right? Oh, whatever. You get my point, though, right? I get it, sure, I just don't think it holds up. I think criminals get to have their own moralities when interacting with each other. That if you're in the crime game, doing things to other people in the game is more permissible. Well, sorta like that. Well then, is it cool to kill a killer? Is that just part of the game? Well, what about killing a thief? No low rate, like a major thief, someone who's stolen millions. So we're talking the Ocean's 11 tier guys? Someone who just stole money from somebody who needed it for a life-saving procedure. Because of that, the person who stole it from died. Is the thief a killer? The killer then killed the thief? And if the person who needed that procedure could have been saved by a rich acquaintance, but the acquaintance didn't pay, are they to blame for the first person who died? Then is it morally permissible? Richard? I don't effing know. It depends. Right. So, still pretty early on, and we're going in hard. Well, I don't mind. This has been a pretty engaging story so far. Context and all. Code changes by a case-by-case basis, that doesn't seem like a solid foundation. I'm not creating a legal system, yo, I'm talking... Well, you haven't really thought about this philosophy, have you? No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. Do I have to? Do people have to write on papers what they want to believe? They believe what they feel is right. Hey, you're the one who brought up this conversation. I'm not saying you're wrong to believe whatever you're believing in, I'm just giving my 2 cents. Alright. Felt like Christian and I are getting into more pointless arguments as of late. That probably wasn't a good sign. Maybe something to look into before too long. But it couldn't be helped. Regardless, we've been wasting way too much time. Well, we can pick up this discussion another time. We're not creeping around the forest in the dead of night for fun, you know? You haven't forgotten what we're here to do, have you? No. What do you take me for? But a quick refresher. I sighed. Hey, you didn't explain it that well. I almost let Krish do this by themselves. I was this close. Okay, calm down, you're right. Alright, for now, what we're trying to do is startle this house's owner. For a good reason? Yes. Probably. I don't like that tone. Can we just get it done already? Alright, what do you want me to do? But for now, stay here. Before we start, I need to get something to set up. Alright, get something set up. Alright. Just like that, I walked away towards the house. I approached it from the front porch. There's no cameras, right? I checked for them ahead of time and I couldn't find anything, but maybe I missed something? No, I was being paranoid. No cameras. And right now it was late enough that there shouldn't be any chance the homeowner might see me through a window or anything. I should be fine. Keyword should. I went right up the front steps and bent down. I took out a plastic bag from my pocket. Then gingerly with a rag, I reached in the plastic bag and placed a pre-order note with the wooden porch. It was a paper taken from a common store. The message was written in letters clipped out from various newspapers. Cliche, I know, but it's cliche for a reason. The letter was suitably vague and threatening. I figured the more details I put, the worse it'd be. Best to keep things general. Dearest Tyrant, I hope this note finds you in bad health. But because injustice reigns, I doubt that to be the case. How does it feel living life is good while the rest suffer? How does it feel wearing a smiling face, holding a knife behind your back? How does it feel being a sinner? It's sad, so sad. Yet it turns out you can't live the way you have forever. Eventually your crimes will hurt the wrong person. This time you've gone too far. You forced my hand, you've plunged me into hell. So I'll do the same to you. Bring you to where you belong. This is just the beginning. Do struggle. I like to be entertained. Ha ha ha. Love the devil you don't. Was that too much? I don't know, I kinda liked it. I thought the last bit was a nice touch. When you throw in vague specificities like that, people tend to fill in the blanks. Maybe it was a little much. Krish might have been the better author choice, being an inspiring writer, but I wasn't looking to make a masterpiece in threatening letters. I was looking to get a blunt point across. Made my way back over to Krish. Alright, now we're ready to begin. Cool. What does that mean exactly? Let's try just smashing windows. Maybe do some vague whooping and hollering. Whooping and hollering? I don't know, I'm saying it would be intimidating. Alright, I could do intimidating. I somehow doubt that, but let's get to work. I don't think Krish is the kind of person who should be becoming intimidating, but if that's what ends up happening, it's probably going to be a very depressing scene for a number of reasons. Krish leaned down and picked up a rock. Don't get your fingerprints on it. Oh right, sorry, new at this. So am I. Don't need to rub it in. He pulled a rag out and picked up a rock. I did the same. We exchanged a look, then simultaneously we both sent rocks flying through the nearest window. Krish began letting out a low-pitched hollering, which I joined in. Ran over the next window and sent another. Crash. This is kind of fun. Window to window we went, sending rocks crashing. I tried seeing how fast I could get from one window to another. Despite their initial hesitations, Krish also got into it pretty soon. Alright, stop. Just as soon as we got into this, we came to a stop. We went quiet. With my hand signal, we retreated back to the woods. We'd done our part. No way the homeowner didn't hear that. Tuning like this would just increase the risk of getting caught. Still, I wanted to get a good look at the front of the house, see if my note was effective. I waved Krish to follow me and circled back around the front. We were pretty far into the woods. It was dark and there was cover. We'd be fine. Now, let's see. Right on time, Governor Ija made her way to the front door. All things considered, she was looking pretty composed. Miffed, if anything. There's a bit of fear. Hopefully enough. She quickly noticed the note and scanned through it. I want to see her reaction. It was vague confusion. I suppose that was reasonable enough. Not the best case scenario, though. She looked around some, hoping to see whoever left the note. It was, of course, a pointless endeavor. She probably knew that as well. Finally, with a dejected look, she retreated back in the house. Okay, that went about as well as it could be hoped. Now we wait. Right, because... Wow, you really didn't listen to anything I said. You have a habit of speaking softly, Vels, especially when others are around. Ask me to repeat shit. I knew you just explain it again when we got here. That shouldn't be... Whatever. If everything goes right, what we did should have scared Ija somewhat, because apparently because of that, some guy should be arriving soon. That is why we made this mess in the first place. Right. So why do we care about this again? Because I didn't really like the idea of messing with the governor without a really good reason. Well, I don't know if it's a really good reason, but it's a job. For who? This greasy gambler dude named Locke. Pretty sure you wouldn't know him. Hey, you don't know that. I know a lot of people in the city. I mean, sure, do you know a gambler named Locke? No. Okay then, how do you? It was a fluke. The guy was getting harassed by some drunk punks. They were mad at some bet. I stepped in, saved his ass, he appreciated it. Said he saw potential in me, said he could use someone with my skills, whatever that means. He gave me his number, told me to call him sometime I wanted a job. I ended up calling at some point on a whim more than anything. Then the other day he called me, told me he needed some contract work, explained his plan to screw with Governor Ija, the one we're doing right now, offered decent cash for it. So we're just harassing people for cash? The way the guy explained it, this is a weird form of self-defense, and honestly I wouldn't doubt it. Besides, it's not like we had anything else going on. Krish didn't say anything, they just looked at me. They clearly had something on mind, but they weren't saying anything. Well, that's fine, I could wait in silence. Krish was always the one who spoke up first. What? Bells, you called Locke before the mess with the Duwats began, right? Right. Been busy since then. So if he has your number, then it's the same phone as back then. Right. Had your phone on you when you were ambushed. I know that, and I'm pretty sure you never had an opportunity to trash it. You told me to get rid of mine so I could get tracked. I mean, I threw it out of the car. I didn't tell you to do that. It was implied. I threw it out and you kept yours? Where's the fairness in that? Damn, Chris really was a lot more clever than I gave him credit for. They could track your phone. They didn't have the slightest lead on who I am. Why is that? Because I'm a non-entity. We went over as Krish. They don't know who I am. I don't know you. Keep it down. Whoa. This is more serious than I gave credit for. Krish, what are you saying? You know me. No, I don't. I don't know where you live. I don't know what you do most of the time. I don't know what's up with your parents, if you have siblings, where you move from. I don't know any of that. Those are just, details. Details? They're fundamental parts of your life, Vel. We were on the run from criminals and you still couldn't open up about them. It's like, damn, who are you? Who are you, Vels? Who are you? Who are you, Vels? Seriously? Krish began to walk away. They were shaking it like they couldn't believe things. I tried following, making sure they hadn't gotten too far. And all of a sudden, they turned a nearby tree and thud. Slammed their fist into it. A look of rage consumed Krish's face. For once, I was legitimately speechless. I hadn't seen them like this before. They were truly pissed off, and all I could look on was dismayed. Damn it. Seriously, Vels, why? What's the problem? Why can't you even confide in me? You look surprised. No, we like to keep things light. We hung out to just, shoot the shit. Hung out before all this started, I mean, but we kept it light. Maybe you thought silence, since I was all smiley and shit, it was just living casual, carefree life. You felt the need to always correct me in my deeds of becoming a writer. As though I wasn't painfully aware I'm not cut out for it. Which I was never... I think I got into this mess for fun. I was an idiot for trying to organize the Duat thing. Like, okay, maybe I messed up by not thinking things through properly. I'll take the blame. But I didn't do that on a whim. I didn't have it easy before now. I've never had it easy, damn it. And you know me, Vels. As close to the chest as you keep it. I've never hesitated to open to you about my past. Do you really think I had it easy growing up here? Think I didn't grapple all the time with my class? So, my race, even my gender? Panthea might be a diverse group, but that just means it's got a diverse group of assholes. I mean, damn it, even my dad. He tries to know, he supports me and stuff, but he's never gotten it either. All my life I had to deal with so much. I could handle it. Because I'm tough. Tougher than most of these suckers that crowd that city. Gangsters, bigots, assholes, none of them are the shit. I made it my mission, day one, to not let them get to me. I kept my head up. Kept smiling. I was a positive, funny, cool baller no one could talk shit about. Beacon of the people, friend to all, that's me, Krish Devaki. Even if it's dumb, I'll reach out to help even if it's dumb on my part. But it's not like things still didn't get to me, It's not like just because I face down all this shit with a smile it doesn't weigh on me every damn day. Krish, you know what, Vels? You know why I tell you all this? You know why it stings? Because I thought you understood me. I want you to understand me. Even when we first met, I thought you were really cool. The more I got to know you, the more I felt deep down we were similar. I know a lot of people, sure, they're nice enough, but they don't get me. None of them could, but I thought I wanted you to get to me. I want us to be close. I wanted one damn person in the city I could rely on. You can rely on me, Krish. Clearly not. I mean, right? I thought we were friends, but to be friends, the understanding I was talking about has to be a two-way street. I was fine doing most of the talking because I thought you were, I don't know, just shy or something. You still can't open to me, then were you always just uninterested? No, Krish, I wasn't faking anything. Then why don't you tell me anything? I'm asking who you are right now, friend to friend, if you can. And you can't even answer that. I had to say something. I couldn't leave that unanswered. I couldn't. I didn't kid myself into thinking I was some sort of great person, but for that, I do owe him something. It wasn't often something I liked to do, but I decided to recount the turning point in my life. I wasn't born in Panthea. Yeah, pretty obvious, Vels. Why are you bringing that up? Breath in. Keep calm. I grew up in a reasonably nice city. Wasn't rich, but definitely wasn't poor. Had a nice family. Only child, which I appreciate. My parents were nice folk, worked honest jobs. I went to school, had a couple of acquaintances, a really good friend. I did decently at school too, if you'd believe it. There's a version of me that actually grows up, goes to college, maybe even becomes a science professor or some shit. Ha! Can you imagine that? Me, an actual professor or something? Yeah, weirdly enough, I sort of can. He was a lot less talkative now. I clearly recognized at this point I was actually opening up. Honestly, that probably would never happen. Even in the best of circumstances, I don't think a boring life like that's for me. But I could have been something worthwhile. But don't say that, you are worthwhile. Maybe you're right. Sometimes I question that. But lamenting on ifs is a pretty worthless practice. Hypothesizing on possible futures, that's fodder for people with too much time on their hands. Shit for dreamers that don't get things done. Like it or not, there's only one life, and mine didn't end up that way. I still remember that night, waiting for my dad to come back home. Unaware. It took me a while to realize something was wrong. And then I heard the news. Well, I thought it was a joke. Surely that can't be right. Why would my dad be dead? It wasn't I think on some level you're still a kid until you come face to face with your first genuine tragedy. A tragedy that thoroughly makes you confront the arbitrariness and cruelty that life has to offer you. Or that you go through being aware that death and true despair are things that occur to a person, but it's more of a conceptual understanding. When you encounter it firsthand, you change. By that metric, there are plenty of adults who get well into their 30s and still never having to grow up in this way. There's some kids who grow up far sooner than they should have to. And you were one of those kids? Very astute, Krish. Yeah, my dad's death messed me up pretty badly. I went through every stage of grief, I lingered in every one longer than the last. Denial and bargaining didn't last all that long, in the wider scope of things, but anger? Oh, I had anger to spare. I'd have been much more fine if it was an accident, a natural cause of death, but you know how my father died? Oh, I think you'll get a real kick out of this. I don't think I will. Stray shot and a spat of gang violence. Yeah, that's right, unintended casualty of another person's war. At least that's what the police thought. Only problem was the police were unable to identify any suspects. They couldn't go after anyone. Too hard of a case, I suppose. Yeah, reasons like this are why some places make it so that if a gang member fires into a crowd or something, they're made guilty of first degree, even though technically speaking they weren't after someone specific. Just because those stray bullets need to be dealt with. They can't just be overlooked. I mean. Of course, I had other ideas as to why they weren't pressing charges, but no proof to back it up. The bottom line was, I was told pretty clearly my dad's killer wasn't going to be brought to justice anytime soon. He'd just get to walk away, and they wouldn't pay the price. Heh. You guess how that made me feel? Furious? Furious? No. No, I don't think that's quite right. Furious doesn't paint the right picture. It implies I was raging, ready to lash out at anyone and everything, that I was blinded by emotions. No, what overtook me was cold anger, a far, far more dangerous one. Fury may get people to dangerously lash out, but a cold anger is the one you should really worry about. It's probably not a great sign that I default to cold anger, all things considered. Says horrible things about my character, but that's what happened. I was overcome with an icy cold anger, a determination to find the one responsible, and then to get even. You? I hired a private investigator to look into the case. A good one. And in the meantime, I trained. Physically, that is. If you ever wondered why I'm such a good fighter, well, you have my dad's killer to thank. Day and night, every free second I had, I was on an insane training regimen. You could say a lot about me, but I'm nothing if not determined. Before this point, I never really saw the need for violence. I thought it quite crass. Almost beneath me, if that makes any sense. It was a dumb philosophy, a senseless one. Everything has a place in life, so I got fit. I learned how to fight. It was a quick study, guess I must be a natural or something, and I bided my time. And eventually the private investigator, found out who was responsible for my dad's death, and well, it's pretty obvious, huh? I stalked him, set up a perfect situation, and I ambushed him. He was with three of his friends, and I was alone, but it was an easy fight. I had the element of surprise, and they were just amateurs. Kids not much older than me. Turns out the killer was the son of a leader of a prominent gang that had infested the city for years, dicking around, trying to prove himself as bad as a leader's son ought to be, and then, I don't know the specifics of what went down, and I don't care. I knew the outcome, and that was enough. The thoroughly beating and scattering his little entourage was just me, the bastard, in an empty room. He got on his knees, apologizing, crying, pissing his pants. It was honestly pathetic. And what'd you do after that? I did exactly what I trained for. I beat him. I hit him over and over and over. Pulled some truly brutal moves on him. Beat him half to death. Let me be clear. I don't approve of how I handled things back then. I was younger, dumber, more filled with rage. Then again, maybe I haven't grown all that much, because it's not like I exactly regret what I did to the little punk. Honestly, considering what happened next, maybe I should have just killed him. Might have been for the best. You killed him? Wait, what happened next? Think, Krish, if the story just ended there, that wouldn't explain how I got to this point in my life, now would it? That's... Come on, Krish, you're pretty smart deep down. You should be able to guess what happens next. I've given you all the clues you need. You did all that to the gang leader's son and didn't finish the job. I thought myself pretty sharp, but clearly not sharp enough, because I didn't account for the very obvious next step. The gang wouldn't let this insult pass. They went and got vengeance. Vengeance before my mom. What? Oh, don't get me wrong, they tried to go for me too. I just managed to get away. But my poor mom never did anything wrong. Instead of turning to vengeance like me, retreated to grief after the news. Yeah, she ended up paying for my mistakes. My father's death, that was a tragic accident that couldn't have been avoided, but my mom's? That one's all on me. Hells. It's almost funny how stupid I was. See, this is what I mean when I say I'm worthless. My family was ripped apart from me, and it was all my fault. You can't say that. It wasn't your fault. You didn't know. Did they do that? But I should have. I had to hold back a genuine choke there. Damn, was I seriously getting emotional now? I thought I was past this. That's why I didn't like reminiscing like this. Even Vels isn't a robot. Indeed, even Thane can't be robotic all the time. But the problem is, this is why I prefer to keep moving forward. But this is what I needed to keep Krish content. It had to be done. Anyways, yeah, I'm sorry, that I'm more closed off. I've just always been a private person. I mean, I said I have friends or whatever, but I've always been kind of, I've always kind of, done things by myself. And like, and my personal life, my personal history, it's all stuff I don't like to think about. You say you like hanging with me because you think I understand you, and I do, but honestly, I like hanging out with you because it helps me forget myself. After the incident, I couldn't exactly stick around. There was still an active hit out for me, so I fled. That's why you end up in Panthea, huh? I mean, yeah, more or less. Damn. So what's happening with me and the Duat, if I've been acting a bit weird, is because this whole thing hits a lot closer to home than maybe you would have realized. Chris, you're different from me. Your life hasn't been blown apart. It wouldn't feel right if I watch you follow my footsteps. They're not... I don't think you'd follow well in them. Once I couldn't read Krish's expression. Made sense, I dropped an awful lot right here. The two of us just stood in silence for a couple moments. After a bit, Krish spoke up. Hells, if you just told me all this, I'd have understood. Yeah, you probably would have, huh? That story's horrible. I feel bad. I mean, I'm standing here going off about my problems, all the while you've been... No. I think you have some valid things to complain about, Krish. I mean, maybe, but still. I made you open up about something so painful. You couldn't make me do shit. I felt like opening up to you. Well, thanks. It's good to know you trust me enough to say that. Seeing as what we've gone up until now, it'd probably be weird if I didn't know. Yeah, probably. Still, though, damn. That's some pretty heavy shit, Vels. Elegantly put as always. So wait, I'm confused about some points. Like, okay, that does explain a lot, but what about where you've been staying? What have you been doing? What's all that about? Look, Krish, I know you think yourself tough, but it's really for the best if you let me handle things. It's gonna take a lot to get you out of the shit you're in, and I'm more than happy to do that. I want to do that, but it's best if I handle it myself. What? Come on, you can't do it. That's my issue. I should handle it myself, or at least help. See, this is what I was worried about. This is why I didn't want to tell you. Bills, I can't have you doing dangerous stuff on my behalf. And I'm telling you, you're not making me do it. I'm doing it. It's just better if I handle things, plain and simple. Better? How is it? Just then, we both shut up. In these supposedly silent woods, we both heard a loud sound, the sound of a car's engine. But get to cover. I didn't need to tell Krish twice. They immediately ran over and hid behind a bush. For my part, I circled a tree and leaned against it. After getting to their hiding spot, Krish looked at me in confusion. What are you doing? I put my finger to my mouth with urgency. The car was getting closer. Any second now would be here. I had to be in prime position to get the shot. There. The car was stopping. I heard the sound of somebody getting out. Footsteps closer and closer, moving to the door. Quickly, I got a glance at the man. I saw their silhouette. Yeah, it's probably the guy. Way too dark to get a proper look now, though. Needed to wait. I hid back behind cover. Then I heard a knock, and then I heard the door opening. I waited a bit and anticipating a nervous look around. Slowly, I leaned out of cover. Right there, Governor Idra was talking to the man right at the doorstep. Porch lights were now on. Two were close, clearly in hushed conversation. I could see the man's side profile. This was what I was looking for. Very carefully, I took out my phone and moved the camera app. I lined up the shot just right, and click. Got it. The light on my phone at maximum brightness, I checked the shot. Awesome. I put the phone back in my pocket. Then I hit against the tree. Now I just wait for when it was safe. Hopefully the first order she gave the man wasn't to hunt around the woods for my troublemakers. If that happens, I'd be really screwed. I didn't exactly have a natural escape hatch from here without clearly being seen. Well, worst comes to worst, I could just run. Probably could get away. Probably. What then I can do was tried listening in on Governor Idra and the Mystery Man's conversation. It was really hard to make out from anything this distance. Still, I tried my best to pick up what I could. A clear threat. Suspects. Deal. None. Lock. Failure. Revenge. Unlikely. No trace. Campaign. Juvenile prank. Possible. Ungrateful. Civil and still annoying. These days soon change. Create legitimate threat. Action. Unnecessary. Change my mind. Definitely childish. No reason to advertise if it threatens something. Stay alert until future, then be safe, stay guard in case, just 4. Of the dozen words I exchanged between the two figures, only a couple actually managed somewhat. What's a word for legible for hearing a word and understanding it? There's definitely a word for that. There's a word for that, right? If not, there should be. Anyways, I couldn't hear much shit, but through the bits I could pick up, I more or less deduced the general shape of their conversation. Not that it mattered, I'd gotten what I came for. My next step was simply getting out of here undetected. Lucky for me, it looks like I'd soon have the opportunity. I heard the conversation die down, then the door opened, and then silence. I waited for a few seconds before popping my head out. What I heard already told me the answer, but in case, I checked to see if the car was still by Edge's house, and it was. Part of me wanted to turn around and take a picture of the car's license plate, but to do that I have to run across the open. It was an unnecessary risk for an unnecessary action. Best to cash out now. I walked over the bush that Krish was hiding behind and tapped them on the shoulder. This whole time they'd been in the field position holding their breath. An effective method for hiding out, I couldn't deny them that. We're cool now? Yeah. Come on, let's go. Got what we needed? Yep. Great. Good to hear. Although we really need the cash at the moment, we could ask Polly for anything. Just think of it as doing a good deed. Besides, I think it wouldn't hurt if we had a bit of cash of our own, money not dependent on Polly's cooperation. You know, just in case. You're really an interesting person, Vels. Indeed I am, but so is Governor Ija, apparently. Oh? Pretty sure even though she's decided our stunt was nothing more than a prank, she has our mystery man staying with her at the house on guard. Well, can't hurt, I guess. True, true. Point is, we're done here. So let's get back to Polly's house. Awesome. And just like that, we started making our way back. Despite feeling accomplished, there was a part in the back of my brain, a part reminding me that this wasn't really doing anything to help Krish get out of the situation they're currently stuck in. It was a reasonable thought to have. It didn't appear like there was any correlation. How could I know that far down the line? Getting that picture would actually inadvertently lead to a solution of sorts. Getting that sort of picture would actually inadvertently lead to a solution of sorts to the root cause of Krish's problems. Well, I found this enlightening. Most people are shaped more by our past than they care to admit. It's tragic, not something we like to think about. Weird, considering it's the time of our life where we have by far the least control, and yet it is our earliest years that have the largest ripples. When we're born, we're all blank canvases. Sure, our palette might have already been selected for us, but our potential is still limitless. I believe Ez is referring to the concept of tabula rasa, that people are not inherently born with any inherent programming, that it's built based on their future life. And to an extent, I can definitely get that. Oh, but by the time we have some real agency, really know what's going on, the form of our painting is pretty much already finished. Want to really understand someone, a shortcut is figuring out their past, so I have to ask you, how do you feel about your former life? Um, I don't have any complaints, I guess. I'd say it's more, I haven't, wouldn't, I'm not sure if I'd say it's good or bad, I'd say content. Oh, you did? Well, aren't you lucky? So then, this is a tricky question, one that requires not just introspection, but understanding of cause and effect. Still, I'll ask it, what do you think in your past most likely led to the person you are now? Hobbies, I guess. Hobbies, huh? I can see it. What you practice early on, you excel in later. Few chess grandmasters start in their 20s. With that in mind, if you had to choose between the two, would you consider current life an embracing of your past or rejection of it? Well, if I met my past self, I probably wouldn't. Well, I guess I would be pretty angry at some of the choices my past self has made, but I don't think I'd actively try and stop them or anything since, well, my life is both things that I did smart and both things that I did dumb that have shaped who I am now, so I don't think I want to reject it, but at the same time, I'm not sure if it's fully embrace. I guess if I had to go with more of a 60-40, I guess embracing. I see. You decided to play the hand you were dealt best you could? A valiant option, although, alright, so now that we've examined your past in a bit more detail, how important is it to you? What would it take for you to completely give up on it? How much would you need to ever willingly sever yourself from your past to erase all memories of it? This one's a this is pretty tricky. On one hand, I could say that I've already been severed from it because I can't really change it, whether or not I have. Guess that answers that question, huh? Sorry for this little diversion. And thanks for answering my questions. Well, how about you? Me? My past? Sorry, I don't really have anything like that. As far as I can remember, I've always been me. And I selected the I've already been severed from it just because, well, I can't change in the past, so it's not a matter of, well, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really something I worry too much about because it's not like I can go back and change it now. It's just what happened happened, and what it is led to me here. I guess I'm not sure about changing it. If I had the chance to change it, I'm not sure if I would, simply because, like I said, both my successes, failures, mistakes, and correct calls have all been part of who I am now, so I'm not sure if changing them is the smartest would be the smartest move, simply because I don't know how they'd affect me in the future. Ever since I was born, I was like this. Wonder why? Only God knows. Yeah, I am wondering if our host Ez here is actually... Ooh, jumping to a silver lock, I see. Bronze already. Yeah, the ones that have 4 automatically jump to the silver. And I want to hold off on this one for a little while. Alright, do you want to unlock this using a bronze key? I've got 3 of them, so sure. Chip and a chair. What? What's that? What the hell? Those are the thoughts that passed through my... Alright, this is, Laverna's Laverna's sister, who is more of an online troll, apparently. However, she's ended up getting herself caught up in things beyond her understanding. The last time, as a strange conspiracy theory-looking website has informed her of a potential strange thing, as we heard Marduk, the leader of the... I'm not sure if the Duats are supposed to be like a Yakuza or Mafia-esque gang, but either way, they're pretty big, powerful guys. They're really big, powerful guys, so... And yet, she just got a recording that directly showed Marduk basically acting subservient to someone else, which is rather odd, given theoretically he's one of the most powerful people in the city. Who would he possibly be subservient to? Those are the thoughts that passed through my mind when I initially listened to the audio clip that the devil had sent me. Of course, quite a bit of time has passed since then. I've gotten my thoughts in order. Back then, I was incredibly confused. What was the context of this conversation? What was the context of this recording? Who was Marduk talking about? Who was he talking to? Well, for one, I at least knew the devil wasn't talking shit anymore. I still didn't buy this god theory for a second, but this is definitely required consideration. Careful consideration. Alright, let's think about this rationally. What was actually said there? It really is a pain. Do I really have to listen to? Don't lecture me about respect. Yes, results, I understand. Those seem like important statements. Let's go through them one at a time. It was a pain, and to some extent Marduk is annoyed with the compliance. Not outright angry. It might not even be necessarily against his will. It just annoys him on some level. We really have to listen to. It implies on some level that he is listening to someone. The devil would have me think that he's being controlled by the god, but it's not quite what's being said here. On some level, he's just listening to someone. Maybe that means doing a specific thing. Maybe that means not doing something. It's probably a hard order, not advice, or he wouldn't be upset. But conversely, if it really was the god hypothesis that the devil thinks, I don't think this is the way to be talking about it. Don't lecture me about respect. Respect. Well, whoever Marduk was talking to rebuffed Marduk's complaints, saying that respect is important in this context. So who does Marduk need to give respect to? What on earth could it possibly be? Was it more of respect the hustle type respect? Couldn't be sure. Finally, yes, results I understand. So results are the reason Marduk is listening to this person. For the very least, results are related. No, I couldn't piece this together with my current understanding of things. Well, shit, actually, thinking about it, why was I just sitting here twiddling my thumbs? There's a perfectly good person to ask. Immediately, I draft up an email. If I was smarter, back then I would have thought about the approach a bit more mindfully. That's hindsight for you. Devil, this clip is incredible! From Marduk, right? I'm glad you trust me enough to send me this. This is part of the card you were hesitant to show me earlier. This definitely has big implications about Panthea. I'd be delighted if you gave me some more insight of what this call's about. Thank you. And without a second thought, I sent the email. I figured it was adequately thankful and respectful. I knew to at least get that out, but I was so curious about the clip. I just sat there, refreshing my email account over and over, waiting for a response. Something, anything. It took longer than I expected, but a watch pot never boils, or however the saying goes. I got an email back from the devil before too long. I opened the explanation. Fortunately, at first glance, the email was disappointingly short. You are correct. This is a secret file I've not shared with many people. Me sending this signals my trust. It's good for you to know properly. Appreciate that. You're questioning my theory. Well, let this be testament proof. There is a pantheon god, one who controls the leader of the Duats, Marduk. He's annoyed at having to live and listen to someone below his station, a regular person, the god. Ut era demonstrandum. That's a pretty common literary statement. If I remember right, it basically means... Yeah, it basically means the proof is, Actually, what am I doing? I can look it up right now. What era demonstrandum? Used to convey a fact or situation that demonstrates the truth of one's theory or claim, especially to mark the marks the conclusion of a formal proof. So yeah, basically the mic drop. He considers this his mic drop of sorts. And that was it. Oh hell, how pompous could you get? I was really annoyed by this devil guy, but he definitely had some cards I wanted to see. I had to keep feeding his ego. That was really my best chance of learning more. As a type of response, I had to keep my annoyance in check. However, without asking more direct questions, he was going to go monologue, platitudes, and infinitum. Ad infinitum. So basically, just yeah, to get the answers I need face met on. Totally see what you mean. Apologies for questioning you. I was out of line there. You're clearly far more knowledgeable about the city than me. In my defense, you clearly had more information guiding your theory. Still, I'm big enough to admit when I'm wrong. Just clear one of those times. Moving on, this clip is huge. It's probably the biggest clue we have towards the identity of this quote-unquote god. I'm sure you've thoroughly analyzed it. Still, I would be of some help. Maybe getting a new perspective could open up a new line of thinking they hadn't considered. Start out, mind if I skip a few basics? Like, for one, how did you get this audio? I understand if you don't want to give specifics. Maybe you have sources you wish to protect. but any surrounding context could be a huge help. Also, I don't know many recording devices that could only get one side of a conversation. Do you have any idea who Marta could be talking to? I think if we knew that, your theory would be pretty much confirmed. Oh, finally, do you know if they talked before this clip or after? Or is this all you have? Eagerly waiting answers so we can work on this together. I sent the email. Not bad, right? I mean, it strokes his ego, compliments him, acknowledges my fault, humbly asks for more information, gives him outs. I think this is a pretty reasonable email, all things considered. I wasn't expecting too much pushback. Set the refreshing tab. The tab. But I'm sitting there far longer than I expected. As a matter of fact, it's now been several days and still not a peep from the devil. Like, what the hell, did I blow it? I read over my own email, and still I can't see what would cause him offense. I mean, that's probably the reason he isn't responding. He's not responded for this long in the past. Of course, there are other explanations. It's possible something happened to whoever this devil is. But no, that can't be right. This is too fantastical. Someone looking into the truth of Panthea, disappearing right as they're asked important questions about an incriminating audio file. That's too fantastical. Almost seems like the whole conspiracy idea is real. I shook my head. No, that's a dumb idea. Bad idea. The devil's now actively choosing not to respond. Why? I wasn't sure. Maybe he didn't want to answer the questions. I thought I gave him a reasonable ability to refuse answering, but apparently not. Whatever. Couldn't spend time thinking about that shit. You know what? I need to just refresh my brain for a hot second, and there's one reliable place to do that. Come up, I go. Yeah, basically the totally not to Reddit, based off the description of it earlier. What's trending? Let's see. Heartwarming picture of a cartoon. Blah blah blah. Some dipshits giving dumb investment advice again. Not funny comic again. Not funny comic. Inspirational quote next to an animal picture. Funny video that's been posted 1,000 times already. Ooh, interesting space news. Wonder how things are progressing on that front. Painfully unfunny, edgy joke. Kamappa sucks. What else? A video of some really dumb stunts. What idiot films these? Well, they make for good popcorn entertainment. Ooh, here's something interesting. Apparently the name Bach is being thrown around more often for the coming election. There's a poll stating his brand recognition's at an all-time high. He seems to have a decent amount of approval now. That's neat. What are the comments thinking? I entered the thread. I actually met Bach once. He's a super down-to-earth dude. We had a solid conversation, exchanged ideas. Wasn't even a fan, but he really listened to my concerns and explained my positions. Explained his own positions really well. I think Panthea is due for some change. Bach seems like a good direction to go. Wanna know what's messed up? Aija's campaign's gone like super low in the fight. Legit, I saw some pro-Aija posters hung up on the block recently. They are bordering on being pretty raised if we're honest. Just goes to show how out of touch she is. Blocker bust. You guys know this guy has no political experience whatsoever, right? Like, none. He has, what, a middling job at Olimpo that he wants to jump straight into leading Panthea? Seems pretty dumb. But hey, anyone but Aija, right? Because screw some hardworking woman trying to make things better. Crime still exists, so clearly it's her fault, and she's just not cut out for any of this. Honestly, Kamappa users have their heads so far up their asses. Alright, bored now. New thread, let's go. I skimmed for something interesting. Oh, someone made a post complaining about the Duats, a thorough list of a bunch of grievances with evidence. Bold, but I suppose not overtly so, considering it's an anonymous Kamappa account. Alright, comment time. Seriously can't believe Panthea is still dealing with the Duats. In this day and age, we're still dealing with the fucking Mafia. Yeah, I should be fine swearing at this point. Like, seriously? It's pathetic. Hugely pathetic. Someone should run up their base, gut them all down. Oh dear. Fucking gutter rats, a lot of them. Imagine being such a worthless piece of shit. Your greatest purpose in life is being in a 2-bit gang. Disgraceful. Duats don't deserve rights. I feel like these monthly let's shit on the Duats posts become weekly at this point. It's so bad, why doesn't somebody do something? Oh, that's right, everyone here's a bunch of loud talkers, too chicken shit to actually make any change. We can pat each other's backs with another thread on saying how they're all bad and lame. It's kinda old. Alright, that's a shit show. Predictable. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page here. Skim. Oh, a memorial piece dedicated to the late Apis. It's a sketch picture. I didn't know Apis was well enough to get drawn pictures of him as a tribute long after his death. Guess I was mistaken. Now what are the comments gonna be like? I enter the thread with a bit of anticipation. OMG, the drawing is amazing. I love the line work. Is there any way I can support you? Then the author went and plugged some shit. Okay, moving on. Subscribe to their Patreon. I'm so glad that people still remember Apis. As someone who's not really a big fan of the police, I have nothing but the utmost respect for him. I mean, he's pretty much single-handedly took down a dictator. Were it not for him, I'm pretty sure Zoc would still be ruling Panthea as a wrinkled, desecrated husk of himself. Oh, he's still an Apis. He caught some people. Big whoop. I don't know why he's paraded as a big paragon, not by the police force. I don't know why so many people have eaten it up. He solved some cases. That was his job. Quite predictably, that last column was not doing particularly favorably in the voting system. I mean, what were you expecting? Comment like on a post like that? Anyways, I still wanted to kill a bit more time. Maybe one more interesting thread. Scrolling. Oh, this is interesting. an Oracle article. Wait, not an article, an official apology. That's weird. I wasn't in a heavy reading mood, so I just went to the comments to see what was what. TLDR, the addresses allegations of prejudice in the Oracle's coverage of Pantheon events. It's run by the head of the Oracle, Kane Shea. Link here if you don't know who he is, but sum it up quick, he has some iffy takes, but generally less shitty than some of the more hardcore douchebags you find in those circles. Basically says a certain amount of bias is inevitable when running an operation where you have to write a lot of opinion pieces. Shea claims a lot of it stems from his love as Panthea, civic pride, you know the drill. He does, however, concede that for an objective based news site, this sort of bias is probably not the best. He says he's going to be doing a lot of reflection on how to properly limit bias in reporting going forward, including hiring some new blood with some opposing viewpoints. Ultimately, we're going to have to kind of wait and see if that actually means if he actually means what he says or if it's a crock of shit. Honestly, I could see it going either way. Didn't the Oracle pretty much have an identical apology a year back? Are we supposed to believe this will be any different from that time? The move to mitigate some of the bad press circulating about his bad press and nothing more. Hope people are smart enough to see through that, though nowadays it's hard to have such faith. Can't believe the Oracle's bowing down to public pressure like this. Another case of internet mob justice going wild. The Oracle's fine. He gave the facts, gave opinions. It was clearly defined between the two. Delineated between the two. People are just mad the opinions are the ones they share. Newsflash, there's plenty of journalists follow they'll give facts and then the same cookie cutter opinions. Go follow one of them. Read the Oracle because I was a proud Pantheon. I like hearing about the truth of the matter. I really hope these promised changes aren't noticeable or I'm gonna be real upset. Alright, okay, that's it. That's final. Enough internet toxicity for one day. Come up was fine in short doses, but spend too long in that labyrinth and your head starts to go funny. Besides, all this was probably just my attempt to stall from doing my actual work ahead of me. I could dick around my laptop as long as I wanted, but at some point I have to face reality and turn to my obligations. Well, in a time like the present, I went to my desk drawer and took out a low-key looking phone. Probably a burner, definitely locked. Hopefully I had some interesting shit in there. Well. Secret hidden phone in the residence of one Polly Dysma. How exciting. Lucky for me, that goody two-shoes thought it fitting to give this to me, which meant I could snoop through the comments before actually handing it off to the proper investigators. That meant fun for me, considering I was also conducting my own investigation. Alright, that's how to frame this. This isn't work, this is fun. This is for personal benefit. Still, hacking phones open is kind of monotonous work. Luckily, I knew more or less how to do just that. We'll first check if it'll just open on its own. Well, scratch that idea. I reached a nearby bin and started digging through some wires, so I found the appropriate one. There we go. Attach one end of the phone and the other my laptop. This will make things a whole hell of a lot easier. I searched for the appropriate tools, and I got to work. Let's pry this bad boy open, shall we? Alright, we're gonna go ahead and skip here, so... Voila! Not exactly a walk in the park, but a hacked phone's a hacked phone. With this, no longer did a password stand my way. With a simple flick of my finger, I was in. Alright, let's see. I could turn this bad boy in, or go with an infinitely more fun and rewarding option of snooping through by myself right now. It would be obvious which option I settled on. Time to see what secrets this super secret burner phone is hiding. First up, let's make sure this phone belongs to the expected person. I went to the contact section. What does the phone call itself? Polly, huh? Alright. A little boring, but guess that's expected. I guess. Hunting was hoping it would be a super secret phone that belonged to a mysterious person. After all, the person was hidden in a public area of the house. Theoretically, it could belong to anyone living there. Maybe even the previous owner. In fact, since it was hidden in the public area, not some place like inside Polly's room, that actually suggested he wasn't the owner of this phone. After all, this was your super secret phone, you'd probably hide in a place where people couldn't accidentally stumble across it. I didn't see any reason why you'd lie about your own identity in the contact section of the phone. So it's safe to assume this really did in fact belong to Polly. So was this a burner of his? Most likely. Burner phones are great, they're the ones that always hide the juiciest of secrets. So then, what apps does this burner phone have? Aw, nothing interesting. Pretty much only the standard ship phones come with. I guess it made sense you wouldn't download Kamapa or some gaming apps on your secret burner phone. Still gave me less to work with. Well, we gotta start somewhere. How about the pictures? I opened up the Pictures app. Anything interesting? Whoa, okay. Lots of porn. Lots of porn. Except, okay, not porn. At least not the traditional type. Let's actually look at this a bit closer. Okay, phew. Maybe this shows how fucked up my mind is. But I had to make sure this wasn't like, you know, fucked up in some way. Taken secretly under duress or some shit? Still, it seems like everything here is pretty above board, relatively speaking. I mean, it's not like I could transport myself to these exact situations, but rather, there's nothing to imply it is coerced in some unethical way. I gotta be honest, still seems a bit weird to keep a gallery like this, but I don't know. Maybe that's the whole purpose of this burner phone. Grand scheme of things, this doesn't seem particularly out of character for Polly. More importantly, I severely doubted this was relevant in any particularly pertinent way, so pictures are out. What else? What other avenues? How about the phone's browser history? That seemed pretty good. Alright, so then I opened it up. Blank page, that's fine. Time to boot up the old search history. Any skeletons in your closet, Polly? I began reading through. Stocks, Basic Edition, How to Work Stocks, Is it healthy to shave your pubic hair? Are there people who don't dream? Shadow of Panthea, Thane Reports, Why does the Earth spin? Does your voice change as you age? The Thane Reports one is a pretty big one. Vocal recognition, security measures, security camera prices, how to host kids' birthday Harry, I guess he misspelled party, My Cat lyrics, Tele, greatest hits, how to get a song out of head, why isn't 11-1T1, what is a good credit score, Polydysma scandals, Polydysma dick pic, how to raise your credit score, Bashu, recent dual activity, how much does it cost to live in a hotel for a prolonged period of time, how do you make a threatening note without being traced back to you, private investigators, Panthea, private investigators average cost, what if I hired 2 private investigators to investigate each other, how do you submit photos to Panthea's funniest videos, how do you record private investigators without being obvious, how do you use Kamappa? This strikes me as the weirdest one of all. Alright, well that was a waste of time, moving on. I don't know, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. I was dancing around the issue, clearly the place to check was text conversations. There weren't a lot of them, even fewer were given contact names, I guess that made sense. You usually wouldn't use your burner phone that often. Makes me question why there were so many search results in the browser then. Actually, okay, that probably made sense. The browser account was probably linked between multiple devices, meaning those search results could have been made on any device Polly owned. Wait, does that mean Polly linked his burner phone to his browser's account? Either Polly was a bigger dumbass than I thought, or this really wasn't much of a burner as it was a second phone. And honestly, either option seemed plausible. Oh, whatever. Time to just start checking conversation. Ooh, a thread with Odin. This seemed promising. Kingpin that Odin is, maybe there's some major secret talk happening here. Let's see. Hey Odin, it's me, Polly. Just wanted you to know about this contact number just in case. Doubt you'll ever need to contact it. Doubt I'd contact you from it. But no, I wanted you to have this number. Just in case. Let me know when you get this. Ah, you have a perfectly good phone already, do not... What use is a second phone? You have not earned such excess. You do not deserve so many ways to access me. Frankly, I should make you talk to me in person every time you wish to converse. Okay, Dad. And that's the end of the conversation. For a brief moment, I felt like a brief flash of what it would like... I got a brief flash of what it would be like to live in the Odin Dysma household, and it definitely wasn't a positive flash. Let's move on. This is a conversation with someone simply known as the guy. Polly wants to be him. Hey, did you see that new episode of Lunch Money? Apparently it got 8.5 ratings on the side, and on one site, and 4 out of 5 on another. Yeah, man, it was great. The next episode's 9:30 on PTV, right? Yeah, so excited. Period of time passed. Hey, did you see that new episode of Magical Molly? Already got a 6.0. Rating on one site and a 3 out of 5 on another. Yeah, man, it was only okay. Next episode's is at 11 on the Smithsonian channel, right? Yep, still check it out. Period of time passed. Hey, man, we should hang out sometime soon. Totally. It's been far too long. More time passed. Hey, did you see that new episode of Golden Boys? It already got a 7.0 ratings on one site, 4 or 5 on another. Yeah, man, it was pretty good. Next episode's at 9 on the Opera streaming, right? Oh, I thought it was 11. You're right. Cool, I'm excited for it. Alright, more time has passed. How about recent events, huh? The world really is crazy. More time passed. Hey, see the new episode of Magical Molly? We got 9.5 ratings on one site and 5 out of 5 on another. Yeah, man, that's fantastic. Next episode's 10 on PTV, right? Yep, super excited. Oh, okay. I got it. There's a drug deal. Cool. Cool. Nice work, Polly. I couldn't quite crack the exact specifics of this code, but the broad strokes are pretty clear. It seemed particularly sophisticated, but I suppose it just needed to hold up in court or whatever. Still getting hooked up by a low-rent... So, getting hooked up by a low-rent drug dealer. Classy, Dysma boy. Well, in Polly's defense, it didn't seem like the two talked in quite a bit of time. Not that it was really indicative of much. I double-checked this contact's phone number, wrote it down on my computer's notepad app. I wasn't the type to indulge in that sort of stuff. Still, you never know what'll end up being useful. This was probably pointless, but having a drug dealer's contact number in my back pocket might be useful at some fork down the road. Okay, here we go. This was it. It was a money name. Yeah, I guess I should have figured out what it was when said Magical Molly. Magical Molly on the Smithsonian Channel. The Smithsonian Channel is it's basically what the History Channel used to be before they decided to not do history stuff anymore. But the Smithsonian Channel is not paid based on ratings. As it suggests, it's like the Smithsonian Museum where it's largely built on... It's funded from other things, so... Yeah. I should have realized at that point that this had to be something other than actually just TV. This was the money name. Art. Should be good. Those two are brothers. Unlike Odin, I don't think Art would dismiss Polly out of hand. Art might be really wrapped up in really be wrapped up in the true criminal workings of Panthea. I was excited to see what this conversation had to offer. I clicked on the name and began to skim. Huh? Scrolled up quite a bit more. I needed the full context for this. Looks like she's hit pay dirt. I need to make sure I knew exactly what was being said. Okay, this seemed like far enough to get the full scope of things. Carefully, let's go through this conversation point by point. Hey Art, knowing we last time we talked, we were on rocky terms, but I need your help. It's about the latest scandal. I'm sure you've seen it. Usually I don't care about the media, but this one's annoying. I'm trying to rehabilitate my image. Now one's reeling my ass about the whole thing. I just need to go away. You have contacts with media people, right? We're good at angling how the public receives info, right? Could you please hook me up with some of those contacts? Just one brother asking for a favor? I'm begging you. Why are you contacting me with that number? Anyways, the answer is no. I find this begging shameless. Do you really think we have a sort of relationship where I'd bail you out like this? Seriously? I don't know why you'd feel the need to rehabilitate your image, but whatever reason you have, it's certainly a waste of time. Almost certainly a waste of time. Maybe if consequences catch up to you, you'll learn a lesson. Seriously, bro? Yes, I am serious, bro. Why you gotta be an asshole all the time? You made an unreasonable request. You're getting a reasonable answer. Simple as that. Look, I didn't want to bring this up, but you kind of owe me one. Oh, how do you figure that? In case you forget, I was the one who warned you about the whole JC situation. Not for me, you would have been taken down, hard. You don't think my warning's worth anything? You're the only asshole I know who texts the words, huh. You're really trying to pull this shit? Bullshit. What are you talking about? You're trying to spin this as a selfless act on your part, not a calculated move. Yeah. Liar. You and I both know you only contacted me out of your own self-interest. You knew that I would handle the situation for you, and the only way to it was the only way to handle the fact that JC knew about the Callista situation. The hell? How did you know about that? You know me, I am thorough, and I've doubted your motives when you threw a pretty-looking girl like JC under the bus. There isn't a Callista situation. We both know that is not true. It was an accident. Accidents happen when you're drunk, Polly. Hey, accidents happen when you're drunk, Polly. Nothing really happened. Callista's fine. We both agreed to be cool. She told me herself it was all chill. It wasn't an issue until JC started poking around putting IDs in her head, giving Callista ideas about settlement money. By the way, incredibly fucked up of JC to do that when I was helping her with her investigation shit. Like, why the fuck would you go ahead and try to wreck my life? So you admit it would wreck your life? No, like I said, nothing happened. Callista was cool with it, even with JC being a bitch. Callista told me she was gonna be rational. She knew she wouldn't gain anything by making a mountain out of a molehill. So you're saying you didn't have a strong enough motive to silence JC? My motive was saving your ass. Bullshit. After all, you're the one who left her on the Manjet, right? Manjet? What the hell's that? What are you talking about? JC was too wise to get captured when the Duats came for her. For a bit, she was completely MIA. She knew she was being targeted, so she was laying low. She was smart enough to know she should get out of town, yet somehow she ended up unconscious on the Duats' doorstep. Even the Duats had no idea who delivered her, practically wrapped with a bow. How do you even know all this? I have a friend. How do you think I was able to get the Duats senior officer to reckon JC as a threat in the first place? Anyways, you were the one who delivered her to the Duats, correct? The fuck? No! Why would you say that? She was on the run, Polly, and she knew she was in danger. She'd only stay with someone she trusted a great deal. At the time, she couldn't have known that Callista reached out to you and blabbed about JC's other investigations. As far as she was concerned, you were still acting as an informant and ally. She'd have trusted you. You would have had the opportunity to get to her. I don't know what you're talking about, Art, but I know it's enough. It's bullshit. I'm not a murderer. Oh. I was not murdered when you first tipped off JC to me. Of course not. I thought you'd pay her off, throw her off the scent, or ship her away. I didn't think you'd jump right to murder. You're not that naive. Apologies for not realizing my brother's a complete psychopath. Art, how is it to realize I've just tried to look out for you? I always have. Is that so? I recall a certain brother. You certainly didn't reach out to help when he needed it. I was busy. I'm not proud of it. You know what? Fuck you are. I don't need this shit. I get it. You're not gonna help. Like a call. Grow up. You can't keep living like this. Those are the last messages the two sent to each other. Oh dear. This was, that conversation confirmed 7 things I suspected and raised another 12 things for me to worry about. There's so much to unpack here, I don't even know where to start. JC's disappearance, I was critical to unraveling that. Polly apparently was an informant against Art. JC knew something that Art couldn't tolerate. She also knew something that the Duats couldn't tolerate, and perhaps most troublingly, she knew something Polly couldn't tolerate. It sounded pretty conclusive that once JC was knocked out on Duat turf, they were the ones who finished the job. But then who knocked her out? Was it Polly? He did earnestly deny it. That didn't really prove much, of course. He could obviously be lying. It looked like Polly was capable of much deeper deception than I previously thought. And wait, was I sure the Duats even finished the job? What the hell was the Manjet? Art didn't actually explain that. Who was Art's friend? Another brother? My mind spun around and around. I needed to focus. This phone, it was the key. This was the key to something big. There were a lot of questions I needed answers for. With this, I finally found some determination. There was something I had half a mind to talk to for some time. This, I finally found interviewing them was finally worth my time. I started to make arrangements to talk with them, but first, the information on the phone. There's somebody who definitely needed to see it. I opened my computer. There's a lot of work to do. You know what I always liked about myths? One of the things I like about myths. Myths actually have a lot of things to admire, but if I expand the topic too wide, you'll hear me jabbering all day. Oh, don't worry, I'm the kind of person who does the same thing, so I won't hold it against you at all. One particular aspect of myth I like is that, with particularly no exception, the gods are pretty much always portrayed as assholes. That always made sense to me. If there's some divine being, I can't imagine them being all benevolent and all loving and shit. I think we'd be made in their image, pretty selfish and vindictive and human. To me, that tracks a lot more. Well, the makers of Hades did say that we keep going back to the Greek gods, because not because they are gods, but because they're very human. Certainly explains the state of things, huh? And it's realistic. I mean, if you view the gods of ancient myths as essentially humans, but with limitless power, of course they'd be a bunch of dicks. Living forever, no restrictions on what you can do, losing empathy is pretty inevitable. Maybe that's what separates us from the gods. Maybe to be divine is not some grand aspiration, but something we would actually consider immoral. Divine is to be self-interested, be unable to connect with anyone else. Because why would you? How could you if you were so much greater than a man? But power comes in many forms, not just magical abilities and immortality. Then, does acquiring power make you more divine? Certainly have been playing it with my mind watching this myth. Weighing the dice. I checked my phone again. Maybe now? No. Damn. I was with the devil. I really didn't get why they weren't responding anymore. It was slightly worrying. A part of me wanted to send another email. This is a gentle tap on the shoulder. Hey, forget about me. Is everything alright? Good. But I question how useful this would actually be. I mean, my last email ended with a question. The devil should know how to respond. Sending another email might seem... Clingy didn't feel the right word, but it came to mind. Well, whatever. I could worry about that later. For now, I had actual things to deal with. I had secured a meeting. I put my phone in the back of my pocket. Alright then. I felt weird about going to this meeting. It seemed like kind of a bad idea for a few reasons, but... I wanted answers, and this person probably had them, or at least this felt like the best way to get them. So concerns aside, this meeting was for the best. After taking a deep breath, I crossed the street. We were at a meeting at a restaurant, Smith's. It was in fact not a bad place to get a bite. Apparently this meeting was infringing on lunchtime, so to accommodate him, we settled on meeting at a place like this. I wasn't exactly hungry or anything, but whatever. Meeting at a restaurant felt fine to me, better than at my place. Made my way to the front door. As I entered, I found there weren't really any customers. Guess this place was underrated. Glad to see it's still open though. I looked around for a bit. There, I spotted him. I began making my way over. Finally, I stood right beside him. Sat casually on one side of the diner's table was Kane Shea, Oracle reporter. If I wanted the scoop on all things Panthea, this was a good way to go. Kane was pretty plugged in. Although looking at him, you wouldn't know it. Right now, instead of being on his phone, you might expect, Kane was staring intensely at the newspaper in front of him. On one hand, he held a pen. I figure I should introduce myself. Kane Shea, right? Briefly, Kane looked up from the paper. Guilty. And you're Eris, Laverna's sister, right? Eris is another Greek goddess of discord, I believe. Yes, I am. Cool. Big seat in front of me. I'll be more talkative in just a second. Okay. Feeling a little awkward. I sat down. It's funny, I didn't take you as a big reader of physical newspapers. Well, this place had them. Had to kill some time. I'm not late, am I? No, I just like getting the scene early. Give me 1 second, I'm almost done with this crossword. Crossword puzzle? Seriously? Keeps the brain sharp. Actually, maybe you can help me with this one. The action of summoning great power, be evil or good. 10 letters. First letter is I, fifth is C, last one is O. Invocation? Yes, that is exactly. Thank you. Invocation, that's it. Quickly, Kane began scribbling letters down and continued filling in more spots. Finally, the puzzle was fully filled. There we go. Sorry for wasting your time like that. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, see? Don't like being a puzzle unfinished is all. I understood that perfectly. From our part, I was ready to jump into business. However, it seemed as though we were seated at a table for too long. Seemed as though we'd been seated at a table for too long. Waiter walked over. Howdy, folks. What can I do for you today? Think you're ready to order? Oh no, Eris, do you know what you want? I shook my head. I'm okay. I don't think I want to order anything. Really? You came all this way? You're not gonna have anything? I'm good. Oh, come on. At least have something. Meals on me. Pushing the matter further wasn't worth it. Alright, fine. Alright, I'll have a glass of milk, please. The waiter nodded. Glass of milk, perfect. And you, darling? Me? I think I'll have a plain cheeseburger, medium rare, side of fries, and just a glass of water drink. By plain cheeseburger, that means no toppings, right? Exactly. Okay. So a glass of milk, lady, plain cheeseburger, side of fries, water for the gentleman. Do I have that right? I think so. Perfect. I'll get the order to you in a jiffy, and like that, the waiter left. Well, now I was bound by laws of social politeness to at least stay in this conversation until I got my glass of milk. Great. Whatever, doesn't really matter. I straightened myself in my seat and looked at Kane. I'm gonna say right now, I'm not sure how much we can trust Kane. I mean, he did joke at the start that he was the most powerful person in the city, but it seems like very well he could be the one at the core of all this. So, Mr. Kane Shea, first off, I'd like to thank you for meeting me here. I understand with you being a journalist, editor, and all, you've got a very busy schedule. And of course, we don't really know each other, so if you'd actually take time to come and meet with me and answer some random strangers' questions, very considerate. So, thank you. Hey, don't mention it. I've been eating too many of my meals by myself. It's getting lonely. Nay, I'm always happy to answer questions. Big fan of information right here. Honestly, when I heard about this, I was a little flattered. I mean, out of everybody, you reached out to me. Well, you are kind of the person in the know about Panthea. Sure, that might be true, but there's plenty of journalists out there. More to the point, I've always gotten the vibe your sister doesn't think too fondly of me. I'm just imagining that, but I doubt it. I shrugged. Right. Well, know that I'm not my sister. We're different people. Different opinions, and to be honest, I'd be lying if I said your number... Although, to be honest, I'll be lying if I said it was your #1 fan or anything, but I've got respect. Respect that you know a lot of things. I wonder if Kane would notice that for the whole spiel I've been lying through my teeth. Turns out he didn't. Well, glad to hear, glad to hear. Well then, alright, should we get down to business? Okay then, I thought for a second. Part of me wanted to just cut to the chase, however, for a few reasons that seemed like the wrong tact. Looks of it, I got at least a few good questions. Better to approach it like, alright, it's Mr. Shea, Kane's fine. Kane then. Obviously the lead writer, editor, CEO, basically the boss of the popular news site The Oracle. This has been established. Right. I've read the article, why thank you, but some people have criticized it in a variety of ways. Really? News to me? Haha. But seriously, people have some issues with The Oracle, and some say it's overly biased. Some articles overlook important facts or misrepresent some statistics to force an ratings. Well, to be blunt, a lot of people think you're a government stooge. Bluntly? Try rudely. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Hey, I unoffended. You know how many comments a day I read? My skin's thick as shit. I'm just surprised you treat the person you're trying to get info out of like this. Seems like a questionable tactic in most circumstances. Yeah, well, I don't like to dance around things. Runs in the family, apparently. Anyway, some people have gone as far as say you're being paid off. I wish. Is that what you're gonna ask me? Oh, I don't buy into the conspiracy crap. What I do know is that from an economic perspective, there's a lot of people who want to hear that what you're selling. And I do buy into human economics, so I ask out of pure curiosity, one person to person, know you're authentic? Legitimately believe the narrative you're pushing. Scowl from Kane's face. Apparently this is the question that sent him off. Sorry? Don't be. I'm just ticked off that everyone seems to be questioning my legitimacy. I can have an angle while still being legitimate, you know? Yeah, as much of a surprise it may be, I actually do believe in what I am saying. Really? Is that so hard to believe? I just think you're a pretty smart guy, Kane. Why, thank you. And I think you know when you're misrepresenting facts, and when the articles you put out aren't fair. But that's... Okay, look, maybe not all my arguments are 100% flawless. That's because, like I've always said, I believe in Panthea. I want it to be a great city, and what's wrong with that? What's wrong with a bit of Panthean pride? It feels like a rarer and rarer commodity around here. But you acknowledge it has faults, right? Eris, every city has its faults. If you want to hear about Panthea's faults, you can go to any other news site. Go there, to hack Bach campaign rallies. But you know, there's so much negativity, so much is overlooked, taken for granted. Is Olimpo perfect? No. It's also consistently making large technological advances and is supplying the city with unfathomable amount of jobs. The Duats suck and it's outrageous the police have failed to effectively hamper their expansion, but at the very least, crime on the whole is on a huge decline. Panthea is at its core a good city where good people can make their mark, but not enough people see it that way. You know the pop star Tele? She's actually Panthean-born. Really? Yeah, seriously, but she doesn't publicize that fact because Panthea's got a mixed reception on the national scale. Wait, seriously? I thought Panthea was actually looked pretty favorably on outside its own bubble. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. Just saying, if she was from Aurea, you know we'd hear about that. So because you want Panthea to be viewed as a great place, you prop it up? Now hold on, propaganda's a bit harsh. I just think it'd be better to challenge it, force it to actually be better. Kane didn't seem to have an answer to this. Instead, he just slumped back his seat. Oh, that's an interesting response. Well, you're not wrong. Look, in some ways, I'm my own biggest critic. I have trouble believing that. Okay, maybe I'm over-exaggerating a bit, but you see, I look on the other side of things. I mean, the image I have created has snowballed in some unfortunate ways. The people who apply to work at the Oracle are not always the best possible candidates. Don't get me wrong, I'm the boss, I have final say. The blame of my subordinates does in fact fall to me, but to put it one way, well, most of the stories I'm actually ashamed about, the ones who give the Oracle shit to use as evidence, they weren't written by me. My primary audience, a lot of them aren't people I'd actually like to hang out with. I think I understand what you're getting at. I might even have a bit of sympathy. Kane shrugged. Well, I made my bed, this is me laying in it, and if it's worth anything, I recently put out a statement how I'm gonna try and lead the Oracle in a better state of things. Most people dismiss it as a PR move, and you know what? Fair enough. Between you and me, I was being honest. Well, there you go, that's the most you can ask for. Yeah, well, we'll see. Something tells me changes aren't gonna be enough for most people. I mean, I'm pretty sure that on a fundamental level I still disagree with a lot of my critics on some stuff, but I hope that answers the question. It does, thank you. Great. I guess it's my turn. Wait, your turn? Yeah, my turn. Oh, you got a problem with that? More general lack of understanding towards exactly what you mean by that. Well, it's simple. You think you're the only one looking for information. No? I mean, taking up my time. It's only fair I get something out of this as well. So I say we go tit for tat on the questions. You ask me something, I ask you something. We both learn, we both leave happy. Sound good to you? Being honest, I hadn't expected this response, but if it'd keep Kane content, well, I don't think I really know that much would actually be interesting to someone like you, but I don't see a problem with it. So sure, I guess. Great. So for my question, what's the deal with your sister? Huh? The deal? Yeah, she and I have crossed paths a couple times now. I got curious. Decided to look into her, stumbled upon her site. There's a lot of reviews on it too. Overwhelmingly positive. For such a star investigator, I'm surprised I hadn't heard of her earlier. Must not be as knowledgeable as you thought you were. Must be. I always wanted to get to know her a bit better. I decided to try and reach out to some people who procured her services earlier, checked in on their experience, and funny enough, I was having trouble getting into contact with any of them. In fact, I was having trouble confirming the cases even ever happened in the first place. Damn. First off, you're researching my sister. What's up with that? Kinda creepy, if you ask me. Creepy? Well, you heard me. Oh, sheesh. For your information, I'm a journal. I look for scoops. It's my job to look into people. And as a matter of fact, I was looking to put together a rather glowing piece on Laverna, a genius detective, Panthea, crime beware. Remind everybody the city's full of talented individuals, maybe make them feel a bit safer. Well, regardless, Laverna's pretty incompetent when it came to things tech-related. When she started getting started up, she came to me to help get her website up and running. And you helped her out? How sweet. For a fee. Anyways, when I did it, felt a little bare. I mean, no reviews, that didn't feel good, so I weighed the scale with a number of positive reviews that were perhaps less than legitimate. Depending on which review you reached out to, that could explain things. Fake reviews? My, that seems questionably legal. Oh, it's fine, or at least it's set up in a way that a case against me would be extremely difficult to prosecute. How naughty. Don't say that word in the future. Fine? Okay then. So, by the rules, is it my turn? Okay, don't put it like that. Why? Makes it seem like I'm being arcane or unreasonable. They're not rules, it's a rule. And it's not a rule, it's a suggestion. We trade questions, and that's not an unreasonable suggestion. Getting awfully defensive there. I don't have a problem with the suggestion. Anyways, forget it, let's move on. I want to know about a specific employee who used to work with you at the Oracle. Oh? Well then, fire away. Do you remember JC Nazea? JC Nazea? Ah, that's right, JC. Sweet girl. You. What? Okay, no, I wasn't saying it like that. Really? Yes, really. I was just legitimately calling her a sweet girl. I liked her a lot. Platonically. Alright, well if that's true, you have to work on your vocabulary a bit. First of all, naughty and sweet girl. I think you're just reading into things too much. Anyways, yes, I remember Ms. Nazea. I had a lot of respect for her. Talented journalist and very ambitious. I really did like that. We didn't always see eye to eye, but I viewed that as a good thing. It's important to have people who keep you in check. Frankly, I could use a lot more people like her nowadays. Alright, in that case, would you mind telling me what you know about her disappearance? Her disappearance, huh? That was tragic, but I don't know what exactly you're asking about. I don't know, do you have any ideas about it? Was she acting weird beforehand? Mention anything to you? Or any particularly dangerous investigations? Let me see, it was a while back, so I don't know how much I remember. He scratched his head. Well, JC always played what articles she was working on fairly close to her chest, annoying as an employee in exactly that one way. She also liked to juggle a couple projects at once, but at the time I think she was launching a big inquest on Olimpo, trying to dig up dirt on it, expose it in some way. Your beloved Olimpo, and you're okay with that? I let her investigate because I was confident she wouldn't find anything worthwhile, and if she did, well then, like it or not, we'd have a moral obligation to run it. Anyways, beyond that, sorry, I got nothing for you. Alright then. Aw man, I hope she's alright wherever she is. Wherever she is, you think she's still alive? Me? Well, I'd like to think so. I mean, the idea to come up with some conspiracy about how she was, quote-unquote, disappeared is tempting and all. Hell, I might even fall into that little trap myself, but I doubt it. And why's that? Well, back then, a little bit after she disappeared, I want to say 9 days after, I had to check her work email. Maintenance thing, standard procedure. Anyways, when I was on her account, I noticed she had gotten on her emails recently, as a day ago, and it was red. Really? Huh. This is news to me. Is it possible somebody else opened the email? On another of JC's devices, perhaps? There's company policy to only ever open your work email at the office, so I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's all speculative. For all I know, someone hacked into her email account somehow, or maybe she logged in elsewhere and then was killed shortly after that. If you ask me, I always figured something just forced her to go on the run and she moved to another city. I nodded, taking everything. Well, that's just my belief, though. Sorry to say, I honestly haven't given it that much thought. That's fair enough. Honestly, you've already given me more than enough. Nice. Alright then, your turn. Hooray! I don't really think about all my questions in advance. Now I don't really know what to ask you. You could just pass your turn. Nah, that seems like a waste. Alright, I've got it. What's your angle, lady? Excuse me. I think I was pretty clear. You called me out here, asking about my general beliefs. Alright, fair enough. Sensible question, but asking about JC Nazea, that's not haphazard, that's pointed. That's the mark of someone here with a specific agenda. Agenda? Isn't that a bit dramatic? Life's dramatic. And also, everyone always has an agenda. Doesn't have to be nefarious, doesn't have to be thought out, but people always have them. and I'd like to know them. Gives me a better idea of how to approach these conversations. I tapped my fingers on the table, eyes closed. For a moment I considered how to answer, then I just shrugged. I don't know. Oh, come on. I'm serious, I don't know why I've taken such an interest in any of this. Boredom, I guess. I didn't have much else to do. I spent a lot of time on the internet. Don't say anything. Anyways, I stumbled across some things. It felt weird to me. I decided to look into them some more, and then I poked into them more, and well, I'm here. I guess if I had to put in a word, it'd be curiosity, though I guess that's probably not a satisfying answer to you. Kane shook his head. No, I get it. You're like your sister. What? Yeah, this is what it is. You both like solving mysteries, you both feel like you're arriving at some sort of truth. You should just embrace the interest a lot more fully than you. Believe me, I'm nothing like my sister. If I can say that with a straight face when you literally look like the same person is fascinating to me. Okay, physically, we're alike, whatever. But that's as far as the similarities go. Well, you talk like a normal person, I appreciate that. Although I think I find Laverna just a bit more fun. Oh, I'm sorry I can't be as fun as her. Hey, ease up, relax, I'm just pulling your chain. Alright, whatever. Answer the question, right? I'd say that counts, yeah. Alright, good. In that case, it's my turn. Alright. I've beaten around the bush long enough, I should prioritize the important questions now. Who knows how many more I'd get. What I need to do right now is follow up on the information I'd gotten from the phone. There's a lot of ways to do that, but there's one part of Polly and Art's conversation that stood out like a sore thumb. Who did JC trust? What? A simple question. I know she was your employee, but as you've demonstrated, you know her decently well, so I'm just wondering, in your opinion, who do you think she trusted quite a lot? Huh. That is an odd question. I have to say, how could this possibly matter? If everything on that phone was to be believed, an assumption itself on several levels, that somebody had left JC in the hands of the Duats. Art said it must have been somebody trusted a fair bit, and Polly said it wasn't him. Polly was very far out of the woods in my eyes, but on this specific point I was more inclined to believe him than not. Yeah, Polly was far from out of the woods. In other words, she thinks he could have been lying, but... So then, if I were to assemble all possibilities, knowing who JC could have conceivably trusted was an important piece. Doesn't matter, just answer the question. Oh, sheesh, I was gonna answer anyways. No need to be cold about it. I'm sorry. No, you're not, but whatever. Once more, Kane slumped back in his chair with a thoughtful expression. Sheesh, really asking me to stretch my memory. Well, I can't say this. As I said, I liked JC quite a bit. She was very amicable, friendly on the outside. She knew how to get you talking about yourself, and any social psychologist worth their salt will tell you that's how you get people like you. But underneath that, it always seemed to me that JC was actually a very untrusting person. Always skeptical, suspicious of everyone else's intentions. It's not a bad quality, especially for a journalist, but it's making remembering any people she actually trusted kind of hard. I see. Well, I can tell you who she wouldn't trust very easily. For one, she wouldn't trust any of her suspects for an instant, or subjects. Though for an investigative journalist, I suppose that's not much of a difference. Even if it didn't look like someone had an angle, if they were directly involved in a story with hers, she thought they had an angle. Similarly, she never trusted any sources. Even if they were giving her good information, she took it with a grain of salt. She considered why they were giving that information in the first place. She might act close with them, but to her, the difference between a source and a suspect was nominal. And you know, she didn't even trust any of her colleagues. That includes you? I'm ashamed to say, yes. Again, very friendly, but from the sounds of things you're asking about who she truly trusts, yeah, nobody at the Oracle. Nobody at any news publication, I'd wager. My point is, if she was really gonna trust anyone, it'd be someone completely unrelated to her work. Or at least someone she thought was unrelated to her work. Gotcha. Alright, this line here is a red flag for me. Somebody she thought was unrelated to her work. Kane knows a lot more than he's telling us, and that's probably why he was thinking so hard. He's thinking, what can I give her that doesn't give the game away? Because, like I mentioned, it's entirely possible that Kane here may actually be the god of Panthea. I mean, he even started out by joking, hey, you know I'm the most powerful guy in Panthea. But interesting, if that's the case though, why would he give her such a clear and specific statement like that to send her on the way? Yeah. I mean, sure, he could be planning to put her into an ambush so that the Duats can take her out like they did JC, but at the same time, why even do that? Why not simply leave that part out and force Eris to go around in circles, not knowing anything? After all, well, it seems like Eris finally uncovered quite a bit. Everything she has is hearsay and inconclusive evidence. I mean, yeah, the phone stuff is and the bit of a conversation is nice, but it's not hard evidence that would work on that would really do anything. That answers my question well enough. Well, good to hear. To be honest, I was worried I hadn't given enough. I was really just scraping the bits of my memory I retained. So then my turn? Yep. Ask away. Whatever you want to know, I'll ring. Took me a second to realize the ring was from my pocket. Damn it, perfect. Just perfect. Absolutely perfect timing. Just had to happen when I was in the middle of an important conversation. Cool, so cool. I sighed. Sorry, Kane, could I take this? Oh yeah, of course, go right ahead. Thank you. I began to stand up and move away from the table. It seemed to surprise Kane, though. Oh, what? Nothing, I just know you're getting up. Yeah, sorry. No offense, but I think this is gonna be a call about a private matter. If you don't mind, I want to take this to the bathroom. To be honest, I had no idea what this call would be about. I didn't even have a clue who was calling. But even still, I could guess I didn't want Kane eavesdropping on it. Oh, sure. Say, could I use my question? Have you let me listen on the conversation yours? I mean, you could. Kane smiled, then he waved his hand dismissively. I'm just messing with you. Do your thing. I nodded. Then I turned away from him. I began making my way to the restroom. Where was it? Damn, I'd not been this place enough. It took a second to scan it, then after a few seconds I saw the bathroom area. Great, I made my way across, then I got to the area. Instead of having a men and women's restroom, they just had 2 unlabeled unisex rooms. Works for me, I guess. I entered the closet room and locked the door behind me. Gosh, this place is filthy. Gross. Graffiti all over the walls. The tile on the wall was cracked on all the sides. I tried pushing on it the slightest force to move away. Behind the tile was a little hidey hole. A comparatively normal pen was stuck there. Weird. Well, finders keepers. Without much thought, I grabbed it and put it in my pocket. Wasn't I in here for a reason? Oh, right, the call. At this point, the caller probably called me 3 successive separate times. Well, that's persistence. Considering that, it's probably I pulled out the ringtone from my pocket. Sure enough, Baldera's name was across the screen. Yep. A second, check the back of my phone just to double check which one there was. I clicked accept call. Hey, it's Baldera! Instantly. This was an instant. Hi, Baldera. This is Eris, right? I have the right number? No, it's Laverna. Why are you calling me when I'm in the middle of detective work? Seriously? Oh, so sorry. This is my bad. I thought, since you couldn't have come. Relax, I'm messing with you, Baldera. It's Eris. Seriously? Dang it, Eris, that's mean. Oh, I'm sorry. Seriously, why can't I tell your 2 voices apart? I bet you 2 gave your parents all sorts of trouble. Not really. That implied we were on the same page on something. Anyways, you called me? Oh, right. So, Laverny told me you were handling things? You mean cracking open the phone you found at Dysma Place? Phrasing it that makes it sound 10 more times more sketchy than it actually is. Sorry, but yeah, exactly that. I was curious how it was coming along. I got into that thing a little bit ago. Serious? Coming along, I got the thing a bit ago. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. So wait, what was on there? Nothing all that interesting if we're completely honest. Seriously? I mean, there's fun stuff here and there. Real look in the mind of Polly, but from a criminal perspective, I didn't say anything all that compelling. Well, shoot, that's kind of a bummer. I really thought we'd find something good. I guess it really is a crapshoot. Pretty much, but hey, that's just my amateurized opinion. I'll be giving it back to Laverna soon enough. She'll probably debrief you on it in a more official capacity. Alright then, sounds good, Eris. Checking in. Thanks for the help. Not a problem. And hey, Baldera, good on you for taking a risk like this. I mean, going behind its back, playing by your own rules, I think it's pretty badass. Really? Well, thank you, Eris. That means quite a bit. You're welcome. I'm gonna get back to my meal. You do that. Hey, give me a call when you feel like chatting or... waste of time. Oh well. At least it wasn't bad news. I was half expecting bad news. Anyway, I should get back to Kane. Interesting. This suggests they may be doing it behind Seth's back, which is good because we now know that Seth is, not trustworthy. Then again, they might already be aware of that. I mean, if Seth directly said that he tries to handle any gang violence cases to give the Duats as much time as they need to clean up. Still want to finish that conversation. I left the restroom and made my way back to where we were. There I could see I was gone, our meal had come. Well, my milk came. Kane's meal. It was taking no time waiting enjoying it. Already was shoveling fries in his mouth at a kind of disgusting rate. And who starts with the fries before the burger? I took my seat again. Seriously? What? We're having a conversation. Yeah, and I'm having a meal. Hey, you're the one who wanted to talk to me during my lunch. For this to work, I'm gonna have to eat. Alright, just be sure to chew before speaking. What are you, my mom? To respond, took a healthy sip of milk. Ah, refreshing. Though there was a slight tang in the taste. How was your call? It was fine. Everything alright? Of course. Why, what makes you think otherwise? Oh, nothing. Just, didn't feel comfortable. You didn't feel comfortable taking it in front of me. Thought it might be a sensitive matter. It was, but it wasn't bad news, at least. Good news, then. More neutral. I see. Well, that's good. Neutral, I should say. So you should get back to my question now, please. Oh. Mentioned a tang in the taste. It could be that he drugged it. That might, come to think of it, at the start, he actually demanded that we order something. And that must have meant he might have been able to do something while we were out. That's awesome. I had some time to think while you were gone. I think I've got a good one. Kane reached his pocket, and then he threw his hand on the table. Out rolled 3 die. What's this? Perfect cubical die. Do you know that the numbers on each set of opposite sides adds up to 7? I knew that, yes. Could I ask why this is relevant? You don't get a question yet. Hey, what can I say? I'm out of questions I actually want to know the answer to, or at least questions I think you'd reasonably know. Blame yourself for being uninteresting. Gee, thanks. So instead, my question's gonna be more of a puzzle. You get it right, we continue. Wrong, back and forth ends here. Really, what motivates something like this? It's fun. Besides, if I'm gonna be wasting my time, I feel a lot better about wasting my time with smart people. Come on, you in, you're out. Yeah, I'm in, I guess. There's at least one more question I needed answered before I felt comfortable leaving. Until then, I have to indulge on Kane's nonsense. Awesome, let's get started then. Kane reached out and grabbed a die. began stacking them and shielded the stack with his hand. Then he gripped the stack with one fist. So inside my fist, I've stacked 3 die in a tower. Tell me, how many die faces cannot be seen no matter where you look? Not as long as you hold it like that. Huh. I mean, normally. 9, 5. The top die's bottom face, and the 2 faces between the top and the middle, and the 2 faces between the middle and the bottom die, and the bottom die's bottom face. Excellent. Have I answered your question? Of course not. That's the warm-up. What I want you to tell me is right now the cumulative total of those hidden die faces in the tower. But don't worry, you do get more information. Look at this. He gripped his fist around the die tighter and packed the tower up in his fist. Then he turned his hand towards me, showing the die's top face. It was a 1. After showing me, he put the tower back down, continuing to hide it. And there you go. That's it? What, can't solve it? No, you're right. The question's too mean as is. Here's another hint. No touching faces are the same digit. Still too hard? Here's another hint. The sum of the total 2 is larger than the sum of the bottom 2 touching faces. Oh, and one more hint. The digits on the top, most and bottom face of the tower don't show up in any of the touching faces. There you go, now solve it. How annoying. Well, I guess to try and solve it. Added value would be... Oh, one final thing about having a train of logic. Sometimes when you reach the end of the old dusty road, you're gonna have to put the final piece together yourself, and I really mean by yourself. Sometimes you'll be presented with a prompt where you have to type in the answer. It's fine, you've been following along with the logic, you'll be fine, it'll be easy. Alright, that's it, just wanted you to know. If having to make me type it out myself was the last thing I could think of. Interesting. I'm thoughtful like that, I could just let you figure it out yourself, but I decided to check in with you, and that's how you know I care. Alright, this riddle cane's what a pain. There has to be something to all this. The hint no touching shares critical. The last 3 hints is critical. I mean, why would Kane give it with all those hints? An impossible puzzle, no fun. It looked like he was content to ask. Thus I must not need those to solve the puzzle. Let's try and focus on things surrounding those hints. Let's go simple, or rather, what do I know it's useful? Kane shows how to arrange a tower. The opposite sides of a dice add up to 7. Considering that many of the faces Kane was asking about were opposites, they seem particularly relevant. What else helps? I also know that I can't see any of the relevant faces. I saw the top face was a 1. So then, surely it's not so simple. There we are. Got it. Boy, Kane was more annoying than I gave him credit for. 20. Hey, what do you know? You're no slower than your detective sister? Stop with the comparisons to my sister, please. It's seriously starting to irritate me. For that matter, what's giving me all those hints after the fact? None of them were remotely necessary or helpful for coming up with the answer. You could just show me the top face and be done with it. I mean, I could have, but where's the fun in that? I like to implement a little thing called noise. Noise? Yeah, noise. It's a game theory term. Basically, it means throwing around wholly unnecessary or seemingly random information. In chess, it's the equivalent of purposely throwing out a bad move to get in your opponent's head. Basically, people try to fit everything into a narrative, so completely random information can throw off their whole perspective on things. Huh. Interesting, I haven't heard about that before. Yeah, well, most people dismiss noise, usually because they don't think to implement it. But I found, especially against smart people, noise is a good way to shake things up. I guess my point is, if I ever committed a murder, I'd probably just do a bunch of random shit to weird the investigators out. Dark place to bring it, but point taken. Anyways, turns out some noise wasn't enough to throw me off. So it seems. Well then, I cede the floor to you. Your question? Right. Alright, I danced around long enough, but when it came down to it, there's only one thing I was really curious about. One thing I wanted to know. Probably definitely think something goes weird with this question, but so be it. It had to be asked. Kane, what do you know about the Manjet? Kane took a moment to process this, then he gave a slight smile. Manjet, huh? Well, now isn't that an ancient name? You know it? Kind of, yeah. I'm more curious as to why you know of it. Maybe you can use your question on that. But for now, it's my turn. Hey, I hear ya. Let's see. To put it very simply, the Manjet is a big ship. Used to do a lot of trading. At the very least, that's the official story. And the real story? It's a poorly kept secret the Manjet was owned and operated by the Duats, presumably for nefarious purposes. Fill in the specific blanks yourself. Well, if criminals can use a big boat, it's for quite a lot of purposes. With a gun to my head, I'd guess smuggling drugs, but hey, that's just where my head goes. Fact is, in truth, it is in fact owned by the Duats. Used to do a lot of seafaring. Used to? Yeah, this is the past I'm talking about. Nowadays it just stays on Pantheon shores. Don't know why they stopped doing things with it, but they did. So now it's parked off in some off-the-path Pantheon pier. Wait, parked? Do you call a boat parked? That doesn't seem right. Harbored? Anchored? Fuck it, doesn't matter. Yeah, you're only a journalist. Who cares about words? Hey, watch it. Anyways, yeah, the ship doesn't do much nowadays. Technically, it's private property, though I hear a lot of stupid teens like to try and break in and run around on it. Really? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a stupid dare sort of thing. You know, the haunting rumors and whatnot. Just a courage. Whoa, whoa, you passed by the phrase haunting rumors pretty quickly. Yeah, well, that's about the time haunting rumors deserve. What, you believe in ghosts, Eris? Fancy yourself as awfully spiritual? Of course not. But I am interested in rumors. They often have a hint of truth. Hard to disagree. People just straight up make up shit up all the time. But if you're interested, there's rumors about the ship being haunted, people hearing wailing spirits, people snuck aboard seeing ghosts, shit like that. Probably stems from the reputation of the ship's duat history. Huh. Say, would you happen to have the address of the pier it's at? I mean, not by memory. Probably on my phone, though. Why, do you plan on going on a ghost hunting trip? Me? Oh, goodness, no. Seems totally unpleasant. Still, I would like the info. You could probably look it up yourself, but I'll do it. Give me a second. Kane took out a sheet of paper from the pocket, he also took out his phone. After a bit, he began writing. Then he handed me a crumpled up note. Thank you. Then I got it from my seat. Well, it's probably enough. I'm very grateful you took the time out of your day to meet me. No problem. This was fun, really. We should do it again sometime. You know what? I might do just that. I began to walk away before I could leave. Kane spoke. Hey, wait a second. Since you asked a question first and you asked it last, you ended up getting one more question than me. Oh, I guess you're right. Doesn't that seem a little unfair? It does. With that, as I continued to walk away, I'd gotten what I wanted. Well, well, well. I think we can officially call it. Eris has truly entered the real world. True, the anonymity and safety provided by the internet was nice for a time, but now the flesh space holds the secret she desires. It's a sad but true realization to come to, understanding what we must interact with the meat zone to get what we desire. I sympathize, I really do. You want to know what the greatest power you have online? Anonymity. No, not just that. So easily you hide your true name. People don't believe in the power of the true name. It matters. In Egyptian mythology, the god Isis learned the true name of Ra through a devious trick. Because of that, Isis was able to gain complete power over Ra, which she used to put her son Horus on the throne. Plenty of religions believe the power of a true name, a power man shouldn't use casually. This concept has been used in fiction as well quite a bit. Tales from Earthsea had a kind of concept with it where magic worked by knowing and invoking the true name of something to control it. For example, in Final Fantasy XIV, one particular group you interact with uses aliases and only share true names with those particularly attached to them. And of course, the Fate series makes the true name and the weapon name of the servants very important. It's the law of names, through and through. Knowledge of one's true name allows you to control them magically. I think that's a bit much. Perform a sorcerer's spell on someone, you must know their true name. To defeat Rumpelstiltskin, you need to name him. To defeat Nyx, you need to name it. There are practical uses as well. Be royal cryptographs or cutting-edge computer firewalls. If you know the true name, security crumples. There's a clear distinction. If you know someone's true name, you have power over them, and if you don't, they have power over you. Case in point, I know your true name, but you don't know mine. Who do you suppose has the power? Your name isn't Ez? I'd rather say, wait, your name isn't Ez? Let's do a bit more. Let's go with Mercury's story next. We may be finishing this one soon, so let's go. The Dragon Triplet. There was something thoroughly unnerving about the scene I found myself in. Ah, yes, last time, on Mercury's story, he had worked together with Lara, another senior member of the Duats, in order to escape Thane, though seemingly the unstoppable killing machine. We'd escaped and by breaking into Odin Daisma's house, and in seeking a place to hide out, we found a secret door, which we had to solve a puzzle to enter. But what is next? We do not know what's in here. And I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. My throat is absolutely parched. Alright, that feels good. It was pitch black. I had on faith the way we came in wouldn't permanently lock behind us, trapping us who knows where. The stairs beneath my feet were uncomfortably stone. I don't know who to be more intimidated by, the assassin who had likely made his way surrounding a house at this point, or the crazy owner of this mansion who built a secret underground tunnel. And this tunnel, my god, this tunnel. Really, it felt like nothing was off limits to what I might discover here. Maybe it was an underground pathway to another house. Maybe below was some sort of secret cloning laboratory experimenting with high-level technology ordinary people weren't supposed to know about. Maybe we'd find an underground dungeon filled with cages holding those who dared to question the great Odin Daisma. Maybe I was just gonna stumble across a particularly well-stocked wine cellar. All were very real possibilities. All I could do was walk further and further down in complete darkness. This was frankly a sanity testing experience, but I'd come this far. Life until this point had been plenty sanity testing. Was this really that different? Before I could ponder things further, I heard stumbling in front of me. You okay? Yeah. Just kinda lost my footing for a second. Careful, the stairs end up ahead. Oh, thank you. With Laura's warning, I was able to take the following steps with important caution. Sure enough, I felt the absence of another step down. I must have gotten to the main floor of whatever was down here. Damn, is it dark. You're just putting that together now? Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I thought it'd get brighter when we were down here or something. Maybe there's a light switch. There's gotta be, right? Probably. We'll pal along the left side of the wall, you do the same with the right, we'll see what we find. Hopefully a light switch, maybe something else. Alright, sounds reasonable. With a seemingly unreasonable plan in place, I began blindly feeling across the left wall. This too was stone. Being honest, a bit worried about this approach. Common sense dictated there be a light switch somewhere near the stairs, but common sense did little to contain Odin's architectural ambitions. This very area was proof enough of that. All of a sudden, I could see the wall I was padding against. Behind me, some dim lights had been turned on. I turned around, and sure enough, I could finally see the chamber we were in, and yep, this feels about right. Illuminated by some hanging lights, Laura and I stood to the veritable underground war room. You could be forgiven if you mistook this place for an armory. All around the room, ancient armors and delicate instruments of war were proudly displayed on wooden plaques and displays. It really ran the gambit in terms of time periods and places. Mesopotamian sword and shield, a Revolutionary-era set of pistols, American Revolution or French Revolution, the armor of the shogunate, a bow and quiver from, well, I wasn't cultured enough to place it. Robes, hammers, guns, ropes, helmets, all sort of memorabilia were proudly displayed. I guess Odin was just a real history buff. That fit. Wow. I mean, wow. You're telling me this is a collection that would put some low-rate museums to shame. And all this culture is just rotting away in privacy? For Odin's eyes only? Pretty much. This is the shit I'm talking about. This is why we should be targeting Olimpo. I thought you were an Odin fan. The hell? I never said anything like that. Besides, it's not like my beefs with Odin specifically. Most of the houses littered about this forest are like this. There's a whole class of people who have too much for their own good. A class of people I wouldn't feel an ounce of guilt robbing blind. Yeah, good luck with that. As for me, I'm not really interested in this historical stuff. I mean, it's fascinating, probably. But that's one of the least interesting things here to me. Well, clearly Mercury has no plans to summon a servant. As I said, the weapons, while eye-catching, weren't what was important about this underground chamber. That was just decoration. No, the thing that caught my eye was the oval table in the center with chairs around it. At one side of the table, I noticed a not quite finished glass of wine. This place, I'm guessing this was Odin's real office. Yeah, I'm thinking you're right. Look at all these chairs. I bet he has meetings in here. With like a secret cabal of the elites. Wild. I looked around the room carefully. No, I don't think so. I don't think people regularly meet here. I mean, this place is certainly built like it could accommodate others, but something tells me it was more of a formality than anything else. How could you possibly say that? Or for one, I don't think many other than Odin would tolerate meeting in a creepy, secret underground passage with a complicated method of entering. Well, that's not proof of anything. People do a lot of shit to accommodate Odin. Alright, well, let's look at the chairs then. This one here, it's all kicked out. All the others are pushed in the table. Not only that, look at chair legs. There's a shitload of dust all over most of them. Table 2 also suggests there aren't a lot of visitors. See that side of the table has some discolorations. I bet it's from a bunch of wine stains. The rest of the table? Pretty uniform, wouldn't you say? Instead of responding, Large looked at me. But not the first time her suspicion aroused her eyes. Who are you? First solving the puzzle, and now this. Aren't you a little too clever? What can I say? I'm just perceptive. Probably was able to get this far in my investigation. I'll say. Ever think about becoming a detective full-time? Me? A detective? Cute thought, but I can't really see it. Well, I could. Full-time detective, huh? It was a nice thought. Well, if I'm a detective, I'm gonna start snooping around. Forgive me, but given the lengths gone to hide this place, there's gotta be some juicy secrets here, and my curiosity has yet to be sated. Go for it. We got time to kill, and I'm also pretty interested in what old Odin's been hiding in a place like this. With the go-ahead from Laura, I decided to investigate proper. There was a place to start. I walked over the table where Odin seemingly normally sat. As I got closer, I saw more clearly the table had a number of cabinets. I pulled one out directly by Odin's chair. Inside, I found a laptop. I took out the laptop and put it on the table. Then I opened it up. What's that? Odin's personal laptop, if I had to guess. I wonder what's being kept on this. Awful lot of secrets, I imagine. I started clicking on random keys and the screen lit up. Oh damn, what? Password protected. Oh. Obviously there'd be a password on a laptop. Password. What would Odin set? Some part of me thought Odin was the type to try and get clever, make it something that could actually be guessed, but unfortunately I'm just drawing a blank. I had too many ideas towards what could be the password, which functionally meant I had no ideas at all. I sighed and closed the computer. Whoa, you just giving up like that? Yeah. Can't you, I don't know, hack your way in? Hack my way in? Seriously? It's a thing. It is. I mean, it might be possible, but I'd need another computer and a connection. Hacking a random computer never seen before from the password screen? Yeah, no, that's not possible. It's fine. Something else caught my eye in that cabinet. Indeed, something else had. Below the laptop was a big folder stuffed with pages. I was going to look after it after I scraped the computer, but well, I couldn't get in the computer. So time for this. Placed the folder on the top of the table. Then before I opened it, I paused. What are you waiting for? This is a crime, isn't it? I mean, obviously, but also, is that really stopping you now? Dude, a little late for that. You broke into a mansion in the middle of the night. Under duress. Legally speaking, it's pretty much fine. Or at least the case against me would be this paper. If you say so. Looking at this, though, it's just an invasion of privacy. Is that really going to stop you? I mean, no. No, it's not. Take a token objection made, I began. Eagerly, I opened the folder and began leafing my way through the various folders and documents. I was really excited to see what I could find, which is why initially I was disappointed. But you see, so far, nothing special. This is just a bunch of Aleppo corporate documents, financial records, future plans. It's all pretty boring, for honest. Oh, that sucks. It did. I mean, I'm sure to certain people, there were interesting things buried in all this seemingly useless information. To a layman like me, I could at least tell Olympus seemed to be doing well. Not that I need these documents to prove that. There's a lot of information, some are probably important in some way, but I couldn't parse it. I was in a slight rush. It all looked Greek to me. I kept flipping through page after page. Was it all just this? Those feelings of disappointment were soon dissipated, though. What the? Find something interesting? You could say that right here. This looks like a report on Odin's own son. Huh? Subject, polydysma. Pictures attached. And then there's a whole list of traits. Places where Poly likes to spend time. Things Poly's done in the past. Are some of these true? Well, moving on. Poly's notable personality traits, his assets, connections, all this. It's described in painstaking detail. That's creepy as hell. I mean, spying on your own son like that? Can't say I'm surprised. At the bottom of the document, I took spot the most surprising thing at all. Threat level 2.6. Threat level? That's what I'm confused about. And there's an explanation with it. Impulsive, rash, emotional, resentful, and with the talents and resources to actually disrupt things if provoked. Potential ticking time bomb. However, ultimately aligned with interests. Could cause minor damage, unlikely to seriously upset things. Lara didn't know how to respond. I felt similarly. That cold analysis, the implications were troubling to say the least. But if Lara was struck by that page, she'd be floored by what I found on the next page. Whoa, what? There's a file on you in here. The fuck? Show me! Instantly, Lara came over to get a better look. I showed her what I was looking at. A similar file to Polly's had been on Lara, notably included her connection to Shikome, and at the bottom, threat level 3.4. Lara's sharp, personal as long-term goals. Her philosophy is somewhat troubling, and close eye should be kept on her. However, at the end of the day, unlikely to affect real change. Unlikely to affect real change? Unlikely my ass. Irritated, Lara stormed off. I couldn't say I blamed her, but I wasn't content to stop there. I looked through a few more files, all looking similar, until I came across one that struck up me. There's one on Bach. Bach? You mean the guy who's running against Aija? Yep. Apparently he's... The last threat level was erased, and here it shows 0.6. Damn, poor Bach. I'll say. Situation handled. Non-player, non-factor. Only a reason threat level is slightly raised because of interactions with one Locke. Need to learn more. Still unlikely to change things. Situation handled. I have to ask, did anybody have a higher threat level than me? If it makes you feel any better, no. Nobody did. Damn, so in Odin mind, 3.4 is the highest threat it can get. But we don't know the scale. Maybe it's out of 5. If that's the case, 3.4 is nothing to scoff at. It's probably out of 10. Probably. I continue to flip the folder, and beyond the threat level files are more interesting pages. What? Found a particularly threatening individual? No, I'm past those files. At the back, there's photos of police reports, and, like, not public information stuff. These are internal investigation notes. Whoa. Wait, photos? Yeah, not the reports themselves. They're very clearly photos of the reports. And what the fuck's up with Odin? How's he getting his hands on this stuff? That was sort of interesting to me, but not the most interesting fact. No, what I was interested in were the specific cases Odin had photos of. There were a few photos of fairly lengthy internal reports on the double murder that occurred at Governor Aija's fundraising gala. There was some robbery incident, one that occurred at Olympus HQ. Oh, it was about the stolen laptop and the information inside. Made some sense for Odin to have that file, but what struck me was the last file. It was only a single photo because the internal report, when the case was pretty slim. It was a report from Governor Aija of harassment and vandalism that took place in our house in the forest. Why would Odin have a report on that case? It's a pretty petty one. Yo, Mercury! My thinking was interrupted by Lara. In the meantime, as I looked at the folder, she'd been wandering around the room looking at displays, and now she stood at the far side of the room. Yeah? Maybe you want to take a look at this? I mean, maybe it's nothing, but the display feels different. Well, let me look. I trusted Lara's instincts on this one. I stood up from the chair and walked over the other side of the room. Indeed, this display differed from the others. From there was no weaponry to be seen, no armor, not even a relic, just a piece of paper and photo. I decided to start with a sheet of paper. It appeared to be a poem written by Odin. The writing was in black ink, likely penned freehand. I decided to give the poem a read. Murdy. Creation, preservation, destruction, the natural cycle of all things in life. Creation, preservation, destruction. All good things come in threes, the heart, brain, and body. Faith, hope, and charity. Father, mother, child. Creation, preservation, and destruction. Three basic desires of humanity. Having kids creates life, eating meals preserves life, murdering others destroys it. What if those principles were applied intelligently? If good things could be preserved, if better things could be created, if worse things could be destroyed, what would the world be like? Creation, preservation, destruction. People in poverty curse the gods, but this is foolish. Without our creators, what would be left? Preservation, destruction. And without our guardians, what would be left? Destruction. After that, what would be left? The poem ends there. I had a feeling Odin wasn't going to be winning any Pulitzers anytime soon, and I think he just blatantly ripped off Schoolhouse Rock at one point there. But I couldn't help but feel like it wasn't written haphazardly. For Odin to hang this poem amidst all these things, he must feel strongly about what he's written. The poem was just the appetizer, the real meat was the picture hung above it. Hey wait, hold on a second. It was a simple old photograph. Three men were standing together, grinning, having fun. Normally I wouldn't think twice about a photo like this, but something caught my eye. The guy on the left here, that's Odin, right? I mean, he's a lot younger, but that's definitely him, I can tell. That's not all. You see the young guy on the right? That's Marduk, my boss. Almost did a double take. Excuse me? Look, I'm sure. I've had enough time face-to-face with Marduk to tell. That's definitely him when he was younger. Seriously, I had no idea Odin and Marduk knew each other. What's that about? Fuck if I know. I've never heard Marduk talking about with Odin or anything. This is news to me too. Head of Olimpo and head of the Dwats standing together smiling. That's huge. But wait. The guy on the left is Odin, the guy on the right is Marduk. Who's the guy in the center? We exchanged a look. Neither of us had an answer. Maybe it's a common friend? I shook my head. Normally I'd be inclined to agree, a Com's razor and all, but this photograph was hung right above Odin's poem. When you put it under that lens, the pieces start to fit together. Forming what? I don't know, but something concrete, I began thinking. I thought a lot. I tried connecting all pieces of information I had stored. This picture, something told me if I really wanted to learn the truth, not just what happened to JC, but this whole damn city, the picture would be a path towards that. But the pieces weren't quite lining up. I must be tired from running around hiding and whatnot. I know I recognize the person in the middle, the face is familiar. Really? Drawing complete blank. Then again, these people are all much older nowadays. I mean, look at Odin. He was, like, handsome. How is that different? And how exactly is that different from nowadays? I felt myself jump from nearly half a foot from the ground. Laura also looked visibly shocked, though she held a bit better. I turned around, and sure enough, Odin was making his way down the stairs. Fucking Odin in his silent feet. I couldn't process what this actually meant for us. I was too off guard. Laura, however, realized being caught down here with no explanation wasn't exactly looking good for. Oh, Odin, you ended up here too. So weird. I mean, I don't know how we ended up here, so... Oh, don't please put around it. You broke into my domicile. You went to my sanctum and solved my riddle, and now you stand in my war room. Laura and I just exchanged a look. Denying anything at this point felt fruitless. Yeah, pretty much. Odin just nodded. Nicely done. Most acceptable. So wait, how'd you know we were down here? Oh, Pa, by asking that very question, you insult me in my capabilities. It is not as though you cleaned up after yourselves all that well. One look of the room upstairs, I knew it was obvious I had visitors. Oh, why were you in that room? Oh, well, it wasn't the first I checked, but knowing something had broken in, I couldn't help but check if my sanctum had been invaded. Okay, then, but how'd you know some broke in? I thought we got around the alarm. Did we not? Oh, you evaded those defenses quite handily, though I wouldn't boast that as any grand accomplishment. Then again, how'd you know somebody... Oh, why, the sound of shattering glass tipped me off. The sound of... You were up? This time of night? It's hard to say. I could have gotten in the practice of maintaining an equilibrium between consciousness and slumber, a technique nursed over many years, the ultimate expression of the mantra, sleep with one eye open. Nowadays, I don't think I'm ever truly asleep. Laura and I just exchanged a silent look. I don't think either of us truly knew how to respond to this. At this point, Odin made his way down the stairs, now rounding the table towards us. As he got closer, I thought I saw something that resembled recognition flash across his face. I thought as much. Though with the dreary lighting, my waning eyesight, I wasn't yet sure. Lovely Laura. I thought the voice of yours sounded familiar. Laura looked back at Odin nervously. Odin, good to see you again. Is that right? I sense hesitation in your voice. Then again, you found yourself in a situation that's forced you to break into my house and seclude yourself in a damp basement like this one. Perhaps I'm sensing a misdistribution of emotions. Sure. Regardless, I for one am most pleased to see you in my halls once more. I said eventually, given time, you'd be back, and look at you now. I'm back, you really are psychic. No, not hardly, just correct. And you? Odin turns his gaze toward me. Oh, it's you. Me? Do you know me? Why not? No. Odin stopped in his tracks for a second. He looked me over, I squinted, then a slight smile crossed his face. Ah, I see. Apologies, you see, the way you carried yourself reminded me of somebody else. Looking closer, however, I see I've yet to meet the person that stands before me. My name is Mercury. I know this isn't the best of circumstances for a meeting, but it is an honor to meet you, sir. Oh, likewise, Mercury. Creepy. I don't suppose I'm owed an explanation as to why you two are don't suppose I'm owed an explanation as to why you two are snooping around my war room. Impressed as I may be that you found this place, that does not change the fact you're most certainly invading my property. Odin. Laura looked over to me and I shrugged. Laura could take the lead from here. To not bore you with too many details, the point is the two of us are currently being chased by a very dangerous man. We found ourselves in the forest with a bit of a lead, and well, I thought of your place. Sorry. Odin considered this explanation for a moment. Well, that explains your presence at the house, but not this room. Well, we were looking for a place to hide. I suggested the room upstairs. Then Mercury here noticed the puzzle and solved it. This thing opened. And, you know, we got curious. Oh, sorry, no intention of finding this room when coming here, and yet you unearthed it. Well, yeah. All of a sudden, Odin broke into a fit of laughter. He began clapping uncontrollably. It was quite uncomfortable. Yeah, if he's doing it like Damon Gant from Phoenix, right, that's creepy. Good show, truly remarkable. To see through my intent in so effortless a manner, it speaks quite positively to your character. I don't think it was that impressive. You know, this little bunker of mine is a recent installation to my residence, a bit of a personal luxury. It was only added after all my sons left the house, but still, making a puzzle without anybody to solve it's a rather sad prospect, I must say. So then I've made sure to allow plenty of opportunities for those worthwhile to see through my plaque. And yet almost nobody other than myself has ever set foot in these halls. Tonight you two have made it here, that's no small deal. Well, thanks, Odin. I think the whole statue puzzle is pretty cool, actually. I was sick of moving around the truth, I want answers. No, I was owed answers. Who is this, Mercury? Sorry, Laura, I've danced issues around the issue for long enough. Ah, an individual of action, I take it. Odin, you're smart. You see your laptop on the table and file. We've been snooping because because I want the truth. My search for the truth is the reason I was chased here in the first place. Frankly speaking, there's a lot I could ask you, but I understand you. You're not going to just tell us everything we want to know. Like those threat reports, I could ask what the deal with those are, but I'm not going to. I don't care about that. What I care about is the picture, and specifically who the man in the center is. I want you to answer that. Brief moment of silence. A moment I feared I'd pushed too far, but then Odin nodded. That's not an identity I can reveal lightly. Then again, you outwit my security system, solved my riddle, invaded my war room. Instantly, you circled around in on the most powerful information to ask for, and you ask for it with force. A most impressive display, an impressive display indeed. Odin nodded himself a few more times. Very well. Considering your deeds, I think you are owed this story. Neither Laura nor myself knew to say. We just stayed quiet and nodded. I couldn't speak for Laura, but personally, I was extremely to hear the story Odin was about to go off. So then, like most matters of great importance, this is a tale of ancient history. Why is ancient history so important? Simple. Time amplifies all. Small events from long ago are like a snowball. They roll down a hill of time as they grow in power and size. A rule that has lasted a year is an idea. A rule that's lasted a decade is a tradition. So you see, if you're looking for power, you must look backwards. The story starts with a young entrepreneur looking to bring a family business to new heights. Yes, I'm speaking of myself. Back in the day, Olimpo was not the titan it was now. In fact, the legs upon which it stood were spindly and weak. A single well-aimed blow would topple the enterprise. Why, were it not for my skilled command, Olimpo likely would have fallen decades ago. However, I was blessed by the gods with an unstoppable instinct. This blessing flows in my blood. I have even passed it down to my sons, though to diminished effect it would seem. It was this blessing that turned the tides of the market from the floundering Olimpo. Ingenuity alone is keeping us afloat, but in this world, ingenuity is not enough. Not enough to survive, maybe, but not enough to grow. Not enough to rise, and above all else I wish to rise. Odin sighed. I am humble. I'm aware that on my own I likely never would have made it to my position today. The gods blessed me with not only instincts, but luck as well. In those early days I was approached by an incredibly charismatic man. Looks, intelligence, a silver tongue. He had it all. The man at the time was merely an author. He'd written a few books on political philosophy. Books of decent acclaim. But at the time, from an outsider's point of view, there was nothing remarkable about the man. Who had to know him personally to see his potential. There were not many in this world I view as my equal. Fewer still I view as above me. But that man, Zahak Ubir, he was greater than us all. A jolt felt up my spine. Zahak? Fuck, I know him. He was the old governor. A lot of his policies still shape Panthea to this day. He was pretty well respected before I got ousted for the whole, corruption thing. Spoilers, Laura, spoilers. Let the story progress at its own pace. Ah, well, I suppose there's a place for a little dramatic irony. Perhaps knowing the eventual end makes things more compelling. Leaving a mystery, wondering how things came to this? I think I can guess. Ah, bright one like yourself might. See, Zahak approached me, befriending me. He wasn't doing so haphazardly. Just like I could see natural talent in him, so too could he see the worth in me. From a mere outsider's glance, he could tell with the right circumstances I could lead Olimpo to greatness. I was precisely the man he needed. So one night, he invited me to a private meeting, went out by the Panthean seas. Naturally, I agreed, and when I came out, I found I was not the only one he invited that night. He also brought a young man by the name of Marduk. What I saw was in the business world, Marduk was in the criminal. Not yet given the respect he was due, but hungry. Now I must confess, I didn't react to Marduk's presence perfectly in the beginning. Soon enough I got my priorities in order and listened to what Zahak had to say. And what he said that night would change the course of all three of our lives. Odin stopped for a moment, closing his eyes, smiling. He gently swayed in place, clearly losing himself in the memory. Pitch black night sky, illuminated only by the stars and the waning moon. I can picture it to this day. I was getting impatient. What did Zahak say? Oh, I'm getting that. See, Zahak was an opportunist, a dreamer. He pointed out that there were, broadly speaking, three pillars of power that dominated every city in this country, three worlds in which most change originated. The political sphere, the business world, and the criminal underworld. When you get down to it, those were the three spheres of influence that all meaningful change sprung from. And he noticed that if someone was to control all three, the power would be, in essence, complete. That's... Oh, I can already see in your eyes, Laura. You misunderstand Zahak's sentiment. This was not some callow attempt at self-benefit. No, he was far more ambitious than that. Any well-bred idiot can be rich. What Zahak desired was the creation of a paradise. Cynics may deride it as impossible, but the scholar of political philosophy that he was, Zahak believed that, given the resources he needed, he could make a perfect society. A meritocratic ideal that balanced human equality and autonomy in equal parts. He thought such a city was impossible. All he needed was the power to create it. Quite a self-centered view. All views are inherently self-centered, Mercury. Your eyes can only look from your own head. Zahak saw the big picture. His plan was simple. Three of us form an alliance. We would use each other to become the heads of our respective industries. And then from the top, we would rule. Zahak would pass and change laws to maintain the ideal society. My company would create technological innovations to improve every aspect of life. And Marduk's gang would handle anyone that dared get in our way. Oh, I was lost for words. For several reasons. Quite clever, don't you think? I guess. And I thought so too, and so did Marduk. So we set the plan into motion. Honestly, I thought it would take a lifetime to achieve. And sure, our rise wasn't exactly instant, but we were three men of talent. Most importantly, we had two other men of talent at our disposal. To start with, Marduk and I had to rise the ranks. Marduk's people targeted my business rivals. My company supplied jobs and locations for Marduk's people and operations. And Zahak was quick to chip in with bright ideas. He was never without one. I guess you could say he was kind of the idea guy. Soon enough, both Olimpo and the Duat stood strong, and it was time for the next phase. Zahak had been preparing for some time, but finally, he had what was necessary to make the bid for governor. With his own charisma, he probably already stood a decent chance, but with Marduk and myself backing him, success was ensured. We acted as his serpents, striking out at any potential threat. Olimpo's funds were secretly used to crush opponents under monetary weight, and the Duats handled all matters that needed to be settled under the fog of darkness. The election was not a fight, it was a certainty. It was a crowning ceremony. A ceremony that put Zahak as his rightful place as the leader of Panthea. Wow, I was right. A true villainous rise to power, told with dripping nostalgia. From there, Zahak began to rule justly. His ideas were put into effect, yielded quick results. There's a reason so much of the current framework is based upon Zahak's doings. Legitimately, he was extremely popular back in that day. Unprecedented approval rates. Fine, this was just during the start of his reform. To make a true utopia, massive reforms would need to be made, but even the small steps he made were already creating waves. All the while, Zahak was good to his word, good to his friends. To make sure we would always have his back, he made sure to have ours. His legislation created tax loopholes and labor technicalities that kept Olimpo's profits tidy. His policies pushed people into Duat's open arms, all was going well. But then, Odin sighed, he shook his head with a forlorn look. So close, he was so close to perfection. Had things gone slightly different, well, Panthea would be a much better place. Unfortunately, ideals are fragile, houses of cards easily toppled. What did Zahak do? What did Zahak in was being too good of a governor. He wished to perform each of his duties with unparalleled efficiency. That included appointing the most fitting possible person as chief of police. Enter that damn Judas, Chief Apis. I'll give Apis this, he was good at his job. Too good. Perhaps in retrospect, the flaws in appointing an incredibly competent detective as chief of police while doing illegal things yourself are a bit more apparent. You think? Perhaps Zahak expected Apis would also see the vision, that he would see the grander picture, but Chief Apis may be talented, but he was also stubborn, short-sighted. As soon as he uncovered Zahak's shady dealings, he publicized them and pressed charges. Like it or not, Zahak had no real force. In the criminal world, your power is measured quite literally by your manpower. In the business world, your power is money. But in the political war, your power is your image. Of the three, the last one is by far the most fragile. In a single bullheaded instance, Chief Apis had undid all of Zahak's machinations. Zahak was thrown in jail, found guilty at trial. Thinking of how many years a genius like him spent behind bars, it's a sickening thought. Definitely. Odin took a moment to stretch out his arms. Since Zahak fell, nothing's been the same. I get along well enough with Marduk, but I followed Zahak, not him. He was the one with the grand visions for Panthea. He was the one who would lead us further than we thought possible. With him in jail, well, to put it simply, I guess I just lost motivation. Marduk felt similarly. And besides, we'd already reached domination in our respective fields. Our collaboration, to put it simply, was no longer necessary. So with the imprisonment of Zahak, our pact dissolved. Marduk and I had an understanding to not directly challenge the other's power at any point, for the sake of old times and civility, but beyond that, we were on our own now. Well, from there, it wasn't really much to really handle. I found once we reached a certain threshold of power, gaining more of it becomes significantly easier. For a genius like myself, it wasn't much of a challenge at all. I brought Olimpo to new heights. Importantly, I primed the next generation. I taught my sons how to rule, or at least I tried to. In truth, none of them really grasped the true extent of my lessons. That's fine, I suppose. Perhaps it's unreasonable to expect others to reach my heights, even my progeny. Still, I did a fine enough job shaping them. Shaping them? That's a pretty cold way of phrasing it. It's a cold job. Parents who govern with love take the easy way out. They are afforded with the luxury to not care about the outcome. You know what the problem with power is? If you gather enough of it, eventually it will be wasted. You pass away before you get to reap the full benefits of all that power. Being wasteful is a cardinal sin in my eyes. But there's one way to keep a hold of power even beyond death. That is to store it, keep it in your legacy. If you pass off your power to your offspring, your successors, then your power doesn't waste away, it doesn't fade. It strengthens over time, it lasts, it shapes the world long after you're gone. Not just your power, your will, your ideals, your knowledge, your looks. In some senses, a strong legacy is the greatest power you can reach for. So of course I would take the matter of creating my legacy quite seriously. Okay, I think I get it. You were just looking out for your sons. You get nothing. I was looking out for my legacy. Are your sons not your legacy? Ah, at any rate, you wanted your story and you've got it. That was the tale of the glorious rise and fall of Zahak. Nowadays, that young upstart Aija has tried to take the place of Zahak. To give her credit, she has more spunk than I expected from her, but that's all she has, I'm afraid. Spunk. She's moving in the direction that Zoc set out, but unlike Zoc, she moves ploddingly and slow, without refinement or direction. It is progress, but it is passionless. I can sense hesitation in her. Weakness. Ultimately, she cares more for her own skin than the domain she rules, and that's why she cannot truly be a great ruler. So you don't support Aija? Odin shrugged. She has her merits, she has her faults. I'm now an old man. I can't be bothered with every passing distraction. If she wishes to play ruler, I will not stop it. Besides, if I understand correctly, my eldest son Art has created an arrangement with her, not dissimilar to my arrangement with Zahak. Again, a hollow recreation, lacking strength and unity, but it is something. So, Laura still really. So, the Duats are just a puppet organization that are created to help some politician? Created? No, Laura. The Duats were around far before Marduk's rise to power. Now the Duats expanded to help some politician. That might be an accurate assessment of things. What the hell? What the fuck? What sort of bullshit's that? The Duats are supposed to help the people, not serve some fucking elite class. Laura, you misunderstand the whole point of the story. The plan was to help the people. Why do you think Zahak did any of this? To help himself, to line his pockets and play God. Don't say that story was in service to anybody other than the three of you. Oh, so close-minded. I'll say this on Marduk's behalf. The three of us shared some ideals and differed in others. Personally, I couldn't care less how the dregs of society live. Talentless and meritless could all shrivel and die for I care. This world is meant to be enjoyed by the deserving. But Marduk? He always had his egalitarian streak, even as a young lad. There's no doubt in my mind he agreed to Zoc's plan for what it could offer to the lowest class. His people. And since the plans crumbled, he's only redoubled his efforts at that front. His plan for the Duats is to create an army, a kingdom for those with no other flag to claim as their own. I can't say I fully approve of that motivation, but to each their own. At least he has the stones to create that army with his own iron fists. Okay then. What you just described, it feels a pretty high-level conspiracy, I have to admit. A secret cabal of people controlling an entire city? A cabal? There are only three of us, you know. That's worse. Well, I'm simplifying things, of course. Things are always more complicated than they seem. But it already seems like your power is very limitless. Oh, thank you. Panthea, you just do whatever you want with it? Are you involved in just about everything? Oh, you give me far too much credit. As I said, I'm an old man. Life is passing me by. Once upon a time, perhaps I'd have the energy to dance from issue to issue around the city, pulling on each and every single string. But that time has long since passed. Nowadays, I'm not too concerned with the specifics of how Olimpo is operated. That right. Those files we found? Well, I'm still interested, you see. I don't intend to become a doddering, uninformed mess at any point in my life. I'm saying that my capacity, nay, my desire for meddling has dropped drastically as the years have wear on my old body. If Odin were to be believed, he was claiming to have little to do with any of the current events going on in Panthea. I was inclined to believe him too, but then what? What was I to make of all this? What was the secret? Was the secret pact, Zahak and his serpents? Was this all useless information? Unimportant? Believe that. Thank you, Odin, for telling us. Like I said, you've earned that much. Now then, Odin walked away to a nearby display. To my surprise, he took a katana off the wall and began to brandish it. Whoa, what are you doing? Odin gave it a few practice swings. How long has it been since I used one of these? And yet I remember the motion so clearly, like a bike. Odin slammed the katana to a nearby table, denting its side. Odin, why are you swinging that around? You're not planning on using that, are you? Oh, shit, that was an impossibility I was considering. Oh, no, 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 no. Think, Lar. I'm an old man. Making our battle a contest of blows would be far too easy for you. Our battle? What are you talking about? You seriously didn't believe things would go so simple, did you? Solving the riddle of the Sphinx? That was your ticket to this war room? Now you must earn your ticket out of it. Oh, fuck you, Mercer. Mercury, that poem was dope. Nobody appreciates good art. It's a dying industry, it really is. I mean, on some level, I get it. Poetry's not something people are accustomed to appreciating. But even still, why not try to understand instead of criticizing on high? It annoys me to no end. Well, I fear we've gotten off course, but I mean, what is there to talk about? Yes, this old basement reveals pretty boring. Rusty weapons, a desk, some poem, yawn. I'm pretty sure it's more interesting if you were there. But I'm theorizing some real sick shit. At the very least, we gotta hear Odin lore dump the city's backstory. But at this point, that much is sort of obvious, you know? I mean, money, crime, politics, all colluding to hoard power. Story told. Sure, I got some details, but do they even really matter? That's a whole pretty stick is long over. Maybe I'm just cynical because I was expecting more, like a human experimentation lab or something. Oh, speaking of, the bet. We had a bet if somebody was down there, I'd forget. Well, Odin didn't come down, but no, he was not already in the basement, so I think the outcome is pretty clear. You lose. Too bad, I was really rooting for you. Shame you were punished for choosing the more interesting answer. But I gotta respect the truth, and the truth is, nobody was there. Maybe the bet less in the future? We can even call anything less than what you put down a bet, that is. Whatever. Gamble continues. Gold key and a green key. Looks like we're coming to the end of Mercury's story. Completely made. Are you threatening us? So many words. Odin's statement about having to earn our way out immediately rubbed me the wrong way. Oh damn it! What did this old coot have up his sleeve this time? Oh, and is this really a time for this? Life does not choose when it wishes to challenge you at times that are convenient. In fact, as a way of strike when you simply cannot afford to leave. You're gonna try and fight us? That's a bad idea. It's 2 versus 1, and no offense, age isn't on your side. Oh, you mean this? He adjusted the weapon in his other hand. This was just to make a point. Seemingly to prove, he dropped the sword as soon as he lifted it. Even I am aware that I cannot face you two in a physical duel. Now, were I in my prime? Ah, but that's a different story, and from a different time. No, this battle will be of wits. Cool. What's gonna stop us from overpowering you and leaving? Mercury! Such defiance in this one. Normally I'd look down on such behavior, but for some reason it rather suits you. At any rate, you can barge out if you wish, but know that the simple security measures you circumvented were far from the only defense of my castle. Already the two of you have been captured on some camera breaking in. If you refuse to play by my terms, I simply have to answer in kind by refusing sending this footage to the relevant authorities. I need a drink. 1 moment, please. So, a battle of wits, he says. And believe me, when a man of my stature calls upon the police, they are wont to listen. Well, that could be bad. Bad for Lara, too. Of course, were you to permanently silence me in this cavern, I could not fulfill that threat, but then you'd have murdered Odin Daisba, and surely even you know there are consequences for such an action. Yeah, as much as Odin was an asshole, I wasn't exactly eager to jump to murder either. Alright, fine. What are your terms? Simple. I subject the two of you to a test, a game where you prove your worth. If you win, you can make your way out of the sanctum unfettered. And if we lose... Answer, please. Mercury, if he's going to answer, you would have spoken up already. Alright, sidebar. I grabbed Lara's arm and pulled her to the side, then I spoke in a slightly hushed tone. Alright, so how are we feeling about all this? Are you asking me if I want to indulge in this? Then no shit, obviously I don't. If you're asking me what we should do, I say the answer is fairly obvious. We don't want to piss off Odin. You don't either. I don't want to piss off Odin, you don't either. Yeah, it's probably opening a whole other can of worms, but Odin's not talking about punishment. Scare tactic. Besides, if we lose, we just bum rush him like you suggested, and we deal with things from there. Well, I don't love that plan. Well, duh, do you have a better one? Well, I didn't. So I moved back over to Odin. Okay, deal. I just like that term. It makes it sound as though you had any choice in accepting this arrangement. I bit my tongue. So what is this test, or game? Instead of answering, Odin absentmindedly walked over to another display. He took down a circular wooden shield, the type a Viking might wear. Then he walked further away, opened a cabinet, took out 4 golden chalices. He opened another drawer, and took out 4 golden coins. Finally, he walked back over to us and put the items on the table next to us. Now then, let the rules commence. Odin shouted with his fury. Lara and I just stared at him. For a moment, he cleared his throat. It did not occur to him that he made that declaration that he was the one who actually... As he made that declaration that he was the one who had actually explained the rules. You two shall attempt to make the journey to the afterlife. Though he hit it, I could detect a hint of embarrassment in the old man's voice. You recently passed away. How? Murder. Murder? Killed me. You don't know. There was a gathering of your family and friends. When the lights went out, you felt a stabbing sensation. Lara, I sincerely doubt this is going to be relevant to the game. Just trying to buy in. Also, we were both murdered at the same gathering. You are twins, both faced the same dilemma. The gathering was for the both of you. You both were stabbed. Both of us had our friends and family gathered. It was our birthday then. Well, does that matter? I bet it was our birthday. It makes sense if it was our birthday because that's why it happened at the same time. Now each of you, or undead souls, trek forth and are met with two figures, the brother gods of the afterlife, the god of death and the god of life. Each one may grant you passage to the world beyond, but before either shall aid you, you must first acquire the services. Likely before you, between the two brothers floats a wheel on which the four golden coins, not chalices, are spread evenly about. Payment of 4 golden coins to either brother will get you where you need to go, but each brother's awfully picky, each incredibly vain. The brothers will only accept coins which praise their name to the sky. Odin lifted up one of the golden coins and held it so we both see. He first showed the side with the human face on it, life, flipped around showing the side with the skull, or death. Man, my immortal soul's on the line here, and these brothers won't help out unless the coins you give them are facing a certain way. These guys are some jerks. Well, most gods are. Alright, fine. Flip the coins to be all facing the same way and give them to one of the brothers. Aha! Life, or in this case, death, is never so simple. Of course not. As your spirit approaches the wheel, 4 chalices materialize. Chalices of human sin, earthly regrets. These chalices, they are proof of your past life. Only you can see them, touch them. If the gods unburdened with a soul that was once mortal, it is as though these chalices simply do not exist. The chalices are, despite their size, incredibly weighty. However, you retain a bit of strength remaining for your past life, enough to barely lift them. Since you possess 2 hands, you can lift 2 chalices at once. When a chalice is lifted, you see the coin beneath it and flip it. Holding 2 cups, then how do we flip the coins? You're now a spirit, not constrained by the physical realm. Your essence has the strength to flip on the unknown. Oh, in that case, I can only hold 2. The chalices are human sin, regret, and body. They require physical presence to rise. Feels like Odin has been just waiting for a chance to play this game, given how he has every single detail ready. My spirit essences can't travel through them. Indeed, it's linked to your human soul, after all. Seems a bit contrived, whatever. We wish to make all the coins face the same way, honoring either life or death. However, there's a bit of a snag. Shocker. These chalices are placed upon the Wheel of Fate, and as we all know, the Wheel of Fate is prone to spin whenever the scales are lifted. Therefore, as soon as the chalices are placed back down over the coins, the wheel will spin rapidly before you. It shall spin in such a manner shall completely lose track of which chalice you just raised. Oh no. Oh yes. To make matters worse, your physical strength is fleeting. By the second, you feel the form you once had dissipating. At most, you'll be able to raise both chalices a total of 5 times. How specific. The gods are not without mercy, however. If at any point the chalices are placed over 4 coins which all praise their name, they shall take this as payment and move you on to the place beyond. However, if you are unable to make payment, you are unable to lift the chalices more, and the coins are unaligned, you should be doomed to wander limbo in perpetuity. Understood? Barely. I get it. Wait a second, why do these chalices fall on top of the wheel in the first place? That's your question? Oh, you do not know. You can only speculate. We don't know any of this. Why are you holding that detail out? Oh, but you do. We do. We know about the brother gods and the afterlife and the payment and whatnot. Indeed, as you walked upon this path, this knowledge seemed to come to you naturally, as does all spirits. Odin has definitely been a GM in his past. In fact, it's as though you always knew these truths, but the curse of life prevented you from remembering them. Well, okay then. So we don't get to know why the chalices are there. Maybe it's a test to get into the afterlife. Maybe it happens for everyone. You need to overcome it if you wish to move on. So you're saying the determining factor is whether you get to pass on spirit, is whether you can solve a logic puzzle? This seems a pretty messed up system. Hold on, why am I engaging this in the first place? No, this is real. Odin, could you explain what we need to do for your test? Ah, but I just did. Could you explain with all the mythology nonsense, just like the physical actions and rules? One side. The great art of storytelling is dead and we have killed it. Very well, I thought the rules should have been clear, but I shall enumerate them more clearly for the dim-witted amongst you. Afraid amongst you seems to have a very different meaning when there's other 2 other people. There are 4 coins, there are 4 chalices. The chalices were placed over the coins. You should only get to know what position the coins are when we start. You get to lift any 2 chalices on your turn. When the chalices are lifted, you can observe them and turn them however you wish. At the end of the turn, you will put the chalices back over the coins. Once the chalices are back over, I'll tell you if all 4 coins are facing the same way. If they are, you win. If they aren't, you close your eyes, I spin the wheel upon which the chalices and coins are placed. When you make you choose the chalices, you shall point at the 2 you wish to lift, and I will have another opportunity to spin the wheel before you lift the chalices currently in those positions. I've been listening along intently until this point. However, this is a section I feel needed to interject. Whoa, what's that about? Mere formality, Mercury. A little addition I had to make sure you do not rely on mere chance. Your victory must be airtight. I wanted to argue, instead I shrugged. Good, you have a total of 5 turns. If in 5 turns you cannot make all 4 face the same direction, you lose. Only actions permitted are ones clearly defined within the rules. While I appreciate creativity, that is not a weapon permitted within this battlefield. No marking the chalices in an attempt to keep yourself navigated. No trickery involving magnets or other tools, nor placing the chalices in a specific way or leaving the coins on their edges or any nonsense like that. You shall live or die on a single attribute, logic. This is simple enough for you? Odin asked this question pointedly at me. I took a second to think. Then I nodded. I hadn't yet cracked how to play this game, but at the very least I understood the parameters well enough now. No lore bullshit, this was just a logic check. I can handle logic checks. Took a moment to appreciate Odin's variety with his trials. Channel the Sanctum, I had to solve a puzzle you could see in an escape room. And that primarily relied on creative thinking and abstract connections. By contrast, this one's clearly on basic and straightforward principles of logic and deduction. He clearly wanted to test different modes of thinking, and yet all while he had a penchant for dressing things up in weird abstract metaphors and fables involving gods and myths. It was an odd fascination, to say the least. Odin would surely be an interesting person to study. Understanding the way his mind works, how he came to be this person, a job for someone more empathetic, perhaps. Alright, yeah, I think I get it. Sounds good. I like this test. Agreed. I'm sure we can handle this. Excellent, excellent. Very well then, let us begin. Who wishes to challenge first? Excuse me? Oh, do you not pay attention? You may be twins stuck with a similar fate. We approach this juncture several periods. Similarly, the two of you shall both face this puzzle alone. Seriously? You didn't say anything about this. Oh, you didn't ask. Odin, I don't think... A poor habit to develop, girl. You ought to do a lot more thinking. That's why I aim to separate the two of you. I found that we often use each other as a stepladder to rise above their rightful station. What we'd call the whole Zahak thing. The two of you approaching this together could bounce ideas off one another, discuss and do all sorts of things completely unsportsmanlike things. How is this discovering the problem unsportsmanlike? Task designated for one mind should be faced by one mind. By combining two heads, the difficulty is effectively halved. No, that won't do at all. You two shall face this task separately. I exchanged a look with Lara. Neither of us seemed pleased with this development, but there was so much we could so much we could do about it. Okay then. But Odin, if one of us wins and the other does, you shall succeed and falter by your own skin. If one among you passes and the other fails, the rewards and punishment shall be justly delivered. Meaning, the winner may leave, the loser may not. Ooh, it's fine. It is? I mean, I can handle this, so at least I'll be able to escape. Hey, I also have this. Easy. Excellent. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. As much as Odin talks about a grand picture, even he admits that he joined the group to try and bring everything higher, He admits that by himself, his company could never have done more than just get by. He needed the other two's help, and yet, now that he's at full power and no longer needs them, it certainly is convenient that he sees people working together as a hindrance. The separation shall pose no threat. I guess not. Good. Then Mercury, if you'd be so kind, make your way to the corner. Corner? Seriously? Indeed, if you could face it, that'd be for the best. Oh, and naturally no talking, no exchanging hints, nothing of the sort. That would defeat the whole purpose of this exercise. Being told to face the corner like a child wasn't massively exciting, but no choice. So kind of awkwardly, I walked over to the corner of the room. I stood facing the wall, and then a few moments later I heard movement from behind. It must be starting. Well, I should take advantage of the time I have. Unfortunately for Laura, she has a much more limited period of time which she has to come up with a strategy, but I have the benefit of foresight. Speaking of foresight, a thought crossed my mind. I noticed something hang on the wall. I didn't like being completely devoid of tools. If I took any weapons, that'd probably be noticed. I can't imagine Odin would be happy to part with any of his likely expensive murder ornaments. Hanging up next to one of those ornaments as part of decorations, I noticed a wire. That could work. Suddenly, without looking back, without much movement, I reached for the wire, and then I pulled and took it. Finally, I'd put the wire in my pocket. Good. There. Hopefully that'd come in handy. Or actually, hopefully that it wouldn't, but you know, if it would come in handy, now I have it. So that's good. Back to the matter at hand, the game. Coin game, let's see. How to guarantee all coins face the same way? I racked my brain, but it was coming up empty. Was it even possible? I mean, in theory, it's incredibly likely I'd be able to. I'm starting to think this is a trick question, like they're already all face up, and that changing them is what will mess me up, what will mess us up. If I decide to make them all heads or all skulls, either way, it'd probably be possible. I mean, I get to check 2 cups 5 times. That's 10 checks. Odds I'll get to check all 4 coins eventually is incredibly high, but things weren't that simple. Odin was controlling what cups I'd actually get to pick. Basically, he can ensure my worst possible luck. Any strategy that relied on probably was dead in the water from the start. Thinking about more, if Odin wanted, he could make sure I never even got the chance to look under one of the cups. In that case, how would that be possible? It couldn't, right? How'd you make any progress? Think. What information vectors are there? Well, for one, there's a win state. Odin's keeping track of all 4. But any time a turn ended with all 4 coins facing the same way, it'd be over. So alternatively, when the game continues, you can be sure the 4 coins aren't facing the same way. Maybe that's obvious, but it could be important. Still, there had to be more than that. That was all I had to work with, and winning was impossible. What was it? Was this an impossible game, or was it a trick? No, the way that Odin spoke, it sounded like there's definitely a way to get past it. I just wasn't seeing it. Think, what ways could I impact the game? I could flip the coins however I wanted. If I pick up which coins to... So, seeing as Odin could spin the wheel after my choice, which coins I flip would be meaningless. But wait, that doesn't make sense. If it was meaningless, why would he let me pick the spaces in the first place? Well done. My thoughts were interrupted by a commotion. Phew, that was close. Oh, no, 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 no. Not a word from you. Not while Mercury is yet to face the gauntlet. So, can I turn around now? Oh, but of course. I did just that. Lara was standing proud in front of Odin. Odin, for his part, didn't look particularly bothered to be bested. Lara, since you've already succeeded, there's no need for you to go to the corner. You can just watch Mercury. Cool. So now, come Mercury, walk the path to the afterlife and pay the piper. Without a word, I approached Odin. Now I was in no rush. After all, I hadn't quite figured out my strategy for approaching the game yet, but it didn't matter. I'll figure it out, and I'd come out ahead. If Lara could solve it, and with less time, then so could I. Ready to play? Yep. The trick is to not overcomplicate things. I just need to make all the coins face some way. Simple as that. If that's your mindset, I wonder, can you truly find a way forwards? I wouldn't be so quick to underestimate me. Talk is cheap. Now's the time for action. Couldn't put it any better myself. Well then, shall we dance? Thought you'd never ask. If you don't mind, let us... Oh god, just get to it! And with Lara's chastisement, both Odin and I shut up. And instead, we began to play. You know, sometimes the problems you're faced with are quite complex. You need to track multiple logic trains of thought at the same time. Don't worry, it's really not anything that fancy. Just treat it how you'd normally treat a logic train, except, you know, following two at the same time. Simple. How do I even start this? How do I even end this? I mean, Odin gets total control over which cups I end up with. There has to be a way to control what I'm selecting. No, I should ignore distractions. If I manipulate Odin, if I choose different angles of cups. You said I'm not allowed to. I want to need to come out playing with consistency. Oh, how would I do that? Manipulate Odin. Shit, I must have made some mistake. I want to need to. I want to plan with consistency. There will be a difference between choosing two adjacent cups and two non-adjacent. Should I try and spend the first turn setting all the coins single direction? At the very least, I can guarantee a difference between choosing a straight line or diagonal. I get a maximum of 2 coins the same way. Without the case, I could easily win the game. I need to be able to guarantee I can make all of them on the final turn. If that's the case, the game is hopeless. I choose a straight line of 3 cups and then a diagonal one. I'm guaranteed to see at least 3. I need to be able to guarantee I can make all coins face the same by the final turn. Flip them all the same way, and after 2 turns, I'd have a certain setup. If it's just 1 coin to flip the wrong way, Odin can just make it so I can't flip it. If even just 1 coin is flipped the wrong way, Odin can make it so that I can't flip it. So then what comes after that? I needed to make 2 straight lines. Final coin will be over, but I'll most likely not. On last turn, I just pick a different one. So there's no direction. How do I make progress? Just flipping a single coin. That leaves more question for me. Wait, that just might be it. What if I choose a diagonal line, flip, and only flip a single one? How can I guarantee position of the 2 diagonals of opposite side? Okay, so I can guarantee a flip on 1 coin adjacent, 1 already flipped coin. To guarantee it, I need the position of 3 coins facing one way, 1 facing another. 2 straight lines of opposite facing coins. One coin adjacent to an already flipped coin. That way I can ensure 2 straight lines of 2 opposite facing. I must have made a mistake. Two straight lines of opposite facing. That way I ensure 2 straight lines of opposite. Flip over a straight line, I flip both coins, my victory is guaranteed. Okay, come to a conclusion, this means the path is somewhat straightforward. In 3 turns, I can ensure there are 2 straight lines of opposite facing coins without fail. Last 2, if I start the position of 2 straight, I can win without fail. The strategy until I begin to flip the coins. Just as I predicted, Odin always gave me the worst option. Like I predicted, I always responded with what guaranteed me progress. After a cutthroat 5 turns, I finally made my final 2 flips. Did I win? It would appear that you have emerged victorious. Excellent. I felt like jumping in the air in joy. I restrained myself, obviously, but still. Good feeling. Very satisfied. I knew I could do it. Nice work, Mercury. Thanks. Good work to you too, Lara. Want to take another shot at that one? Nope. How might I ask, what was your guiding light through this task? You mean what was my strategy? To be less poetic. I read your poem, I don't know if you got to lay claim to that... Oh, I read your poem and I don't know if you got to lay claim to that epithet. Anyways, It was simple enough once I figured out that lifting the cups in a straight line was substantially different from lifting up them diagonally. I knew if I started doing both of those back to back, I'd get to see 3. Setting them all in the same way felt like a good first step, and since the game didn't end there and there, I knew the 4th was on the way. After that, I was kind of hoping by choosing a diagonal I'd be able to find the 4th coin set it right, but seeing as how you were never going to let that happen, the next back thing was flipping one of the coins back. That way I knew for a fact there was one straightforward line facing the other way, another line of coins facing the other way. And there was checkmate. I lifted 2 cups in a line, got 2 coins facing the same way, I could flip them both and be done with it. On the other hand, if they were different, I could still flip them both. So then the coins still be separated with 2 lines of different faces. By this time the lines were diagonal. No matter how you spin the wheel, if I lifted 2 cups diagonally, I'm certain to be able to put things in order. Oh good, very good. Nice to know you didn't just stumble on the correct answer. You would think that of me. One can never be too sure. Stranger things have happened. Damn, Odin really didn't believe in me, huh? I don't know why, but despite not caring about Odin, it stung a little. Poor Daisma children. Very well, then I'm a man of my word. You both have passed the afterlife. That is, the life after this bunker. Proud of that one? Thank you, Odin. I'm glad you could help us like that. Ah, don't mention it. Now, if everything else is settled... Hold on, I cut him before Odin keeps speaking, and part of me wanted to cut my losses. Get out while the going was still good, but... I was curious, sue me. Before anything else, I wanted to ask you another question. Mercury? Another, huh? How greedy. Odin examined me, stroking his beard. He was giving my request deliberation, which perhaps is more than I expected. After a bit of time, he nodded. Alright then, I see no foul in this. Ask. Thank you, Odin. That means a lot. Okay. So I want to know, Zahak, where is he now, anyways? Oh, did I not inform you of the end of his story? You told me he was in jail. Oh, yeah. But depending on what he was charged with, I doubt he was put away for a life sentence. So where is he now? Underground, I'd imagine. Huh? You mean he's dead? Indeed. Oh, damn. Damn indeed. Taken from us too soon. He lived a long life, but passed away before he could be released from prison. Disease, if I remember right. That's a shame. Sorry to hear that, Odin. Oh, wait, I'm not done with this line. I wasn't about to toss a softball and call it a day. Zahak Lade felt important. What about relatives? Did he have children of his own? Quite thorough, this one. It's true that men of stature often pass down their will through legacy. Marduk and myself have certainly taken this route. Indeed, Zahak did have a daughter, however she too passed away some time ago. Fortunately for you, sometimes answers aren't that simple. Any relationships? You had a wife, right? What about Zahak had a wife, right? Ah, Kidna, too weak-willed, I fear. After daughter's passing, considering her husband's imprisonment, there was nothing left for the poor widow. She moved away from Panthea. As far as I know, she's had nothing to do with the city affairs for quite some time. Echidna, once again an ancient Greek figure. Well, damn, looks like I wasn't going to get an easy solution after all. Well, I guess the Zahak 2.0 explanation was a little too simplistic in the first place. I guess it was possible I was overinflating the importance of Zahak on the current state of Panthea. He may have shaped the city, but that time has passed. Things were different now. Let me tackle this from a different angle then. You said you don't intend to meddle with Pantheon affairs anymore, at least not to any major extent. Indeed, I'm in my twilight years. My eyes are still set slightly closer to home. If that's the case, what are those files I found anyway? Oh, did not explain this? Just because I don't wish to meddle doesn't mean I don't wish to stay informed. Okay, but they do have threat levels about protecting something. They clearly went with an agenda, one seemingly acted upon. One that was seemingly will be acted upon. Were the notes even written by you? I believe you have asked your one question, did you not? Oh shit, he was right. Damn, why'd I waste time on the Zahak thing? That information was stuff I could get in my own time. Very well then, the matter's settled, we shall move back to the topic I was going to say, and that is your leave from my house. I'm aware you're being pursued by an assassin type, but the movement has moved far. At this point, daylight approaches. I find it unlikely the assassin is laid in wait all this time, especially knowing of me and my nature. Simply put, it would be too great of a risk on their part. Therefore, you should have safe passage to the forest. Now, does the assassin know your identity? In that case, if you reach your home, you should be safe. He definitely knows me. Ah, but you can protect yourself, can you not? Yeah, I've got some wiggle room. Very well then, if it is then proper for you to now make your leave. I nod and Lara followed suit. Again, thank you. Yeah, thanks, I guess. I kept that last part to myself. We made our way to the stairs, however, before we could make our way up. One last thing. Odin spoke and we stopped our tracks. Lara, I must say, you never ceased to impress. Thank you. This is not idle flattery. Both of you should be commended for facing this trial. However, Mercury had a bit of time to plot. You, however, immediately thrust in the gauntlet and still emerged victorious. I wanted to interject that I would have solved it too, but that seemed petty. You impressed me similarly during your stay at my mansion. You have your sensibilities, you have a keen mind, if unpolished in some areas, chiefly you have potential. That is a rare and cherished thing. You can go far, aim far. Ooh, well that's super generous of you to say. I'll be sure to do just that. This was the first time I had heard such clear praise from Odin. I guess he really did hold a high opinion of Lara. That wasn't something that could be won in a single night. Probably has something to do with the time they spent together beforehand as well. And Mercury? Oh, something to say to me? Indeed. I may have been too quick to judge you. Thank you. You two have potential yet. However, whether you reach your desires at the end of this quest, or if your efforts will be for naught, that is much harder to see. Either way, I'm certain your journey will be quite fascinating, and that is all I can ask for. I shall be watching over you with great anticipation. Do not disappoint. I'll try not to. Very well then, that is all. Just like that, just as quickly as Odin had interrupted us, he turned back away and began making his way over the table. We were done. There's a lot to process about that whole encounter, but first things first. Let us get to safety. Lara made her way up the stairs, and I followed close behind her. She pushed open a hatch above us, and like that, we were back in the weird room with the statues. We kept walking in silence out of the room, through the mansion's halls, until we took an unfamiliar turn. Before I knew it, we were standing at the front door. Then we moved it. We were outside Odin's mansion. We were, for a lack of a better word, free. As Odin speculated, it didn't appear that Thane was in sight, and the trail that led out of the forest and eventually back to Penthe properly was well within view. Well then indeed, that was certainly a thing. Yeah, you're telling me? Odin's quite a character, huh? Yeah, not really in a good way. No, I'd have to imagine if divorced from context, this whole gimmick would play a lot better. Agreed. Anyways, the important part is made through this game back out in the world. Yep. Sheesh, that game was the point of the little story. Why add any of it? It's just aesthetics. I noticed you definitely got into it. Hey, look, I was just going along with them. I thought it'd be easier that way. I'm not part of your little gang, no need to act tough in front of me. Not sure what you're implying, but sure shit isn't true. Hey, no need to get defensive. I'm just saying you should look into playing some RPGs. Seems like you'd be into it. Whatever. You know, I guess we're safe, for now at least. Yeah, for now. But I mean, you gotta go back to work with him, right? Well, work. How's that gonna work out? I'll tell you, I'm sure as shit not going to leave the V-Hall without a number of eyes on me. Probably want to invest in some home security, but to actually deal with it? Lara seemed to trail off somewhat. Seems like she was putting off thinking about this part. I don't know. Like I said, this whole encounter was something of a draw. I learned his dirty secret, he learned mine. Hard to say which of either will matter to Murdoch. Worst case scenario, I could blow up both of our stations, so it's a little weird. I guess I'll just not do anything? Not do anything, seriously? Feels wrong, and I mean, if he brings shit up, obviously so will I, but without harder evidence, without a better position, it's difficult. I worked hard to get where I am at the Duats. I don't want to risk that. Thane's also been put in a riskier position after the whole affair with Gil. Probably wants to play things safe as well, so there we go. Stalemate. Alright then. So the quote-unquote affair with Gil is what caused Thane to get put on Marduk's shit list and become no longer the next in line. Well, that's good then? Good enough, I nodded. Then I took a moment to scan the perimeter. Again, I didn't see any signs of Thane, so it looks like Odin's probably right. Can't imagine Thane's still looking around, especially with daybreak coming any minute now. Too risky. You're right, we can probably just go home now. Still, I won't feel safe until, well, I don't know when I'll feel safe. Understandable. Say, you want me to walk with you until you're safe back home? I mean, I know this sounds a little weird, but you know, as a precaution. For a moment, I entertained the idea. After a second thought, I shook my head. Nah, I mean, I appreciate the offer. I just don't think that's necessary. I mean, don't get me wrong, super thankful for everything you did tonight, but well, don't take this the wrong way, but I kind of want nothing to do with you or this after tonight. Either you or this. A look of shock crossed Lara's face, as if she hadn't expected that response. Instead, she nodded her head in understanding. Right, that's fair. It does make a lot of sense. Yeah, at the end of the day, she is a gangster. I mean, it's not like we owe each other either. We just happen to run away at the same time. Right. Like I said, I appreciate your help up until now, but beyond our shared interest in not being murdered, I think that's as far as this relationship goes. Lara nodded, this time more sure of herself. Okay then, I guess I'll just start leaving now. She took a few steps toward the trail. You coming? Actually, I think I'm gonna take a minute, just, you know, collect my thoughts. Okay then, I guess this is goodbye then. Probably won't see each other again. I'd imagine not. In that case, it was nice knowing you. You too. I hope everything works out for you with the Duats. I really do. Panthea deserves a better leader for the Duats. Panthea deserved to be rid of the Duats, to be blunt. Thanks. And for another moment, Lara hesitated. That's funny, even though there's no reason for it, I feel kind of bad for leaving right now. That right? Thanks, I guess. Yeah, you just reminded me of a saying that an old friend of mine would say now and then. If you have trouble saying goodbye, then you've been blessed with a meaningful connection. And in that case, simply smile and thank the other person. Huh. I like that. I was found it overly sentimental to the point of being a bit cheesy, but it's a nice sentiment all the same. It is. And with that final simple sentence, Lara turned back around. She walked down the path out of the forest. And there I was. There I stood. Free. Alone. I didn't know how to feel. It was a liberating feel, sure, but also something of an empty one. I couldn't help but feel conflicted about the night in general. A lot happened, to be sure, but had I gotten anywhere particularly? Well, I certainly got somewhere. I got out alive, and that alone should be a victory. And I learned about the Manjet, its true nature, and that was good. But I had far from learned all the mysteries the boat had to offer. Or maybe I had, it's hard to say. There was definitely some truth I had failed to grasp. A question of how I even wound up here in the first place. Mysterious case of my fainting, what was the deal with that? Was it just coincidence, or was the will of an hidden ill intent one I had yet to locate? Could it be a mixture of the two? People would often pin things on singular clauses. They like to think of reality as nice and clean, or at least that's what they imagine the reality is they can't see. But the reality we do see isn't nice and clean? Why would our mysteries be? Yeah. But the reality we do see certainly isn't nice and clean. That's imaginary reality I can't see, but the reality we do see certainly isn't nice and clean, so why would our mysteries be? Is it possible that what landed me on that container was a combination of multiple things, some intentional, some not? Even still, there had to be some concrete cause and all. Thing that caused me to pass out like that. At this point, it dawned on me I wasn't actually leaving yet. That was fine. It had already been long enough night. What was the harm in staying a bit longer? I was on a thought stream. I didn't want to get off. The night had brought a lot of truths, some less than pleasant. For instance, I was far less safe than I like to think of myself. One thing for sure, I need to be a lot less impulsive in the future. I mean, from the start, I knew this journey JC sent me would be dangerous. But until this point, I had been cautious. I had outs. This was, to put it lightly, a dangerously close shave. Something I couldn't afford to have happen again. And speaking of JC, no, don't get sad, don't get emotional, detach. Was I still dealing with this? What a pain. But yeah, her death was always the assumption. Even still, in light of recent information, I began to cling to the weak hopes somehow she might be alive. In some way that she was wrong in that video she sent me, that she made it through to the other side of the storm alive. Well, she never was going to be well, but alive. That's all I would have wanted. But in light of the discoveries I made tonight, I had to face facts. True, I'd still yet to actually see a body, but that was because there was nobody to see. JC was murdered on the Manjet, and to think otherwise, there was more than a false hope. Product of emotion, not that someone thinking straight would believe. Oh well, standing still was wearing me out. Since when did I like to stand still? I should walk around. I was faced with a uniquely beautiful setting anyways. This twilight forest, right before the break of dawn. I decided to take a slow walk through the trees and make my way the path soon enough to be sure. But what was the rush? As I walked through, my mind turned to more dark thoughts. I may have escaped Thane for now, but could I really be safe? For one, how'd I end up passed out in the construction crate? It wasn't natural, it couldn't be, even though it didn't really make sense. Was it possible there was someone there when I passed out, someone who drugged me? If so, though, then who? Thane played dumb like he didn't know I was there, but was that the truth? Probably, but the Manjet was Duop property. I had to assume if someone was on the boat with me, it was another Duop member. Maybe they knocked me out, thought they killed me, and decided to just leave my body there for the foreseeable future. Then that didn't make sense. I didn't remember being manually knocked out at all. Regardless, that wasn't the only danger. Even if Thane knew nothing, he was still a threat. I wasn't sure how the situation with Lara played out. That seemed complicated and political, but my situation, it seemed a lot more straightforward. Thane didn't want a civilian like me to live and tell tonight's tale. He'd probably continue to hunt me down. Not just him, even though he's hiding his actions to the Dwots, he could probably get them nipping at my heels all the same. He could make up any number of stories as to why I had to be disposed of. Well, would he really send that after me when I could tell them what I'd witnessed? No, that could easily be circumvented. All he'd have to do is ensure a kill first ask questions later policy. Hopefully Lara could help me out on that front. However, I wondered how much she could really do. Thane got a good look at me. He'd probably try to give a very thorough description. Probably paint the clearest picture possible. Considering my appearance, that could be a problem. And with some other information, it's possible that instantly I stopped my tracks. My breathing stopped. My heart still. I feel a slight breeze, and I pushed back, because I couldn't dare make the slightest movement, the slightest sound. Not when Thane was so close. Not when he hadn't noticed me. I stood there petrified. Oh please, you stay still too. For a few moments I thought they had entered my brain. However, after time passed I realized something. Thane wasn't moving either. He was also perfectly still. In other words, as long as it didn't make an obvious noise, I'd be safe. Well, that was good. That was step one. Step two was figuring out what was going on. Why was he... I tried analyzing his position, his stance, his motives, and then I realized what he was up to. He was hiding behind a tree close to the actual path that left Odin's manor. Path through the forest. If I had to guess, he was probably waiting for his prey to pass by. To ambush them. Wait, that was the same path Lara walked by. Why had nothing happened to them? The answer I ended up settling on wasn't exactly satisfying, but was probably the truth. Thane initially counted on the two of us leaving at the same time. He must have tracked us down the mansion. Decided at some point that before too long we'd try and leave and get out in Panthea's forest. That part he just had to wait. Soon enough the chance for his ambush would come. He hears vague chatter from a distance. He knows it's coming soon. He waits. Then a person comes in sight, except it's just one person. It's just Lara. Thane had to make a snap decision. If he kills Lara, I'm likely to hear this and flee, likely to get away. So Thane decided to let Lara walk by without doing anything, to spare her, essentially, in order to gun for the bigger threat. That was me, I guess, the bigger threat. That in itself was probably worth some thought, but not at the time. He was in an ambushing position. When I walked down that path, he would have popped out, and that would have been that. I certainly would have been killed. And yet, on a whim, it felt bad. Pain made my core to admit it. But really, what had saved me was a whim to not rush, a whim to think. A whim to pace off the trail, which had moved me to this location in the forest that Thane absolutely could not have predicted. So then, with Thane there, Thane was a bad person, nobody could dispute that. I mean, Panthea was filled with villains, but Thane was a monster, mechanical, violent, murderer. The longer he remained, the more atrocities he'd commit. He was a public nuisance to the nth degree, and it wasn't like rehabilitation was likely to work on him. He was a bad person, no one would dispute that, nobody would miss him, and more to the point, I was practical. And practically speaking, Thane was a threat. A threat to a lot of people, a threat to me. He would describe my appearance. He could rally the troops against me, and in general, he stood between me and my goals. He was a danger. If I left him alone, he wouldn't leave me alone. And to that end, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, an extreme coincidence. The type of luck I didn't like to believe in. I had to drop on Thane in a way I doubted I'd ever have again anytime soon. So then, it was obvious, right? Logical. Slowly, very slowly, I walked towards Thane. Step as lightly as I could manage. No matter what, I couldn't let Thane notice me, so my approach was slow. I had to keep approaching. Take too long, and Thane might get too restless. A difficult balance to manage for sure, but I made progress, closer. Before I knew it, I was quite close to Thane, a distance where we could have a normal conversation, but that wasn't close enough. Now I could probably reach out and touch Thane. He could reach out and grab me. Don't think about that. Don't think about anything. Just closer. Before I knew it, I was close enough. Too close. Close enough where he might hear my breathing. Every second I stayed was the second he might notice me. I couldn't waste any more time. With a weird mix of speed and calculation, I took out the wire I had tucked in my pocket, and then, in an instant, I wrapped it around his neck. Pulled tight. It was weird. I'd never done something like this before. I always think about in the abstract, it's something hard to conceptualize, but when you're in the moment, it's actually quite easy. Just motions you do in daily life. This wasn't strangling, this was pulling. Pulling tight. Thane immediately started struggling. He realized what was happening and tried to do something with his gun. However, the moment I saw him going for that move, I kicked it out of his hand. I scanned my memory. Then I kicked the back one of Thane's legs. He fell to his knees. I continued to pull. Thane tried to reach out, but from his position on the ground, it was incredibly awkward. I slightly moved and he couldn't even touch me. He must let us do anything. My muscles began to strain, keeping the wireless. But I couldn't feel too bad, because Thane was having a much worse time of it. He began to paw at his throat, trying to do something about the wire, but he didn't have any implement to remove it. So that pawing was completely ineffective. Finally, he just held up his body up with his hands. I could hear beneath his mask his desperate choking. He was coming to the realization there was nothing he could do to prevent the current situation. He was realizing his life was leaving him. So for a few more seconds, we stayed in that equilibrium. I was doing nothing more than strangling. His arms let go. I had to keep his body up with the wire. Part of me wanted to let go. Enough was enough. But I wasn't falling for it. It was a ploy. I used all my strength to keep his body up, to keep pulling and pulling and pulling. Then once it was completely unreasonable to think was acting, I finally let go. He fell forwards, collapsed to the ground backwards. I was panting heavily, sweating profusely. I could feel my vision becoming splotchy. My stomach was ill. The simple fact I didn't want to accept. Lying before me was a corpse. I had just murdered Thane. Everyone makes a big deal out of murder. I don't see it. So many people die every day. Doesn't really matter if the number of those deaths are responsible for is 0 or 1. People like to assign more meaning things than there really is. Hey, want to hear a fun story? Alright. Great. This one time in the middle of the night, an old man heard a knock on the door. They hesitated for a moment, stopped what he was doing, and afterward put his tools away and went to the door. At the door was a police officer. "Excuse me, sir, do you have security measures for your home?" the officer asks. "Not really. Why?" says the old man. "Been a horrid string of murders, and just earlier tonight people reported a suspicious figure," says the officer. "I want to make sure everyone here was safe." "Gosh, horrible. Thank you for informing me, officer," says the old man. "Oh, doing my job," the officer with a grin, unaware the body under the bed was inside the old man's house. "Actually, if you want to get some security stationed around here for you, make sure you're protected," the old man. "That won't be necessary," said the old man. "I'm a wood carver. I have plenty of tools to defend myself." Carver, you don't hear about the profession every day. At this point, a look of irritation came across the old man's face. "Sir, thank you again for the warning, but it's late, and I want to finish my life's work. Why leaving me alone?" This police officer wavered. They wondered if they were being rude and what the right thing to do was. Finally, they nodded their head and said, "Sure thing, I don't want to keep you waiting." The smile, the police officer turned and walked away, and the old man closed the door with a smile on his face. He went back to his workshop to continue his final masterpiece, and the body under the bed began to move. Getting up, pulling a knife, ready to do what they came for, and when the old man's body was eventually found, the police officer shrugged and just all they could do. The end. Ah, good times. Poor guy. Before we go, I have to test your reading comprehension. What was the moral of the story? Arrogance gets in the way of helping others? Sure. Guess that's fine. Well, standard for moral, kind of boring, but what can you do? Oh, and there's one more. That's interesting. I thought the story wrapped up here just fine. But we now know for a fact Mercury is the fake Thane. And that... Oh, no. Fake Thane is this one. Right? So Mercury... So these two stories are, in fact, the exact same person. How very interesting. But we don't have a green key yet. Locked with a jade... Oh, it's jade. And I forgot to save. Well, that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Alright, well, this is the one I was going to do next. Blame the shooter. However, we're going to be blaming the shooter next time. We've made some decent progress, and we've completed one of the story, it looks like. There seems to be a bit of an epilogue, so we'll be finding that out, but we don't have any jade keys, so I cannot open that if I want, even if I wanted. But we're now starting to get a clearer picture of exactly what's going on and what kind of time frame these stories take place in. Well, until next time, thank you for watching, hope you had a good time, and I'll see you later.